Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome to the return of Weekly Geek News. I am your host this week, Travis Snail, and I'm joined by...
I am, I guess, still what a show, Taylor Field.
What a show. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you might be wondering, Weekly Geek, what's that? For anybody that was around, and we were talking about the past of GeekVerse a couple times tonight, because Dylan and Kirkland are now gone from GeekVerse. No, they might be. I'm still investigating. I'm still having to look into if Taylor tapped me, Kirkland, Dylan. The lawyers are working, but I will have an update. The people are working, don't get me wrong. But you might be asking, what's this? What's the difference between this and a newscast? We usually like to, because not obviously every review or every GV episode has all four of us together, but a number episode we like to try and do that. And Weekly Geek News we started around 2021 2022, and I feel like I can't remember why it stopped in 2023. Can you look at when the strikes were? 2023 sounds about right when the strikes happened, the Hollywood strikes, then, or 2024. But I feel like at one point we were just flowing with news and we had lots of reviews. So what we did was we created a show where it's every week you're gonna get for we might announce missing a week here or there, something like that, but every week for the foreseeable future you'll be getting a newscast with a combo of the four of us tonight. The former Cantina boys, former Wolf Order boys. Did you get that date for the strike there?
From May 2023 to September 2023.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that's, I think, around the time we stopped doing it, just because there wasn't point to having a news. But lately, even tonight, this could be a 3 newscast. We got a juicy newscast. There's so much stuff. We're talking about, the DCU with Clayface and Sergeant Rock having some issues. We're talking about there's supposedly, Taylor didn't know this news because I didn't add to the notes yet, but a rumored X-Men Disney Plus show about the Academy. We got James Bond controversy, Dune 4, Johnny Depp coming back to Pirates, bunch of stuff. The Rock in a Martin Scorsese movie. I can't even list it all. But that's the thing where lately, because we have so many reviews and specials, whether it's like me do the gimmick, or of course we have After 9, or we have other retrospectives and stuff, we sometimes can miss news. So we'd rather, instead of doing like a massive episode, which is great, but we'd rather cover, one, it's better for us as a channel, but two, it's just better than maybe looking at, man, 5-hour episode. It's not gonna be 5 hours, but you know what I'm saying, where every week it'll be a combination of us two. Earlier in the week on our Patreon we'll announce what two, so if you don't like me, you can, Travis is on, don't go to watch that episode. But this is a way where if coming up we have Daredevil and or Last of Us, there's gonna be time, and the movie reviews, there's gonna be times where we can't all get together because there's just lots on our plate. So the newscast is a little easier, Weekly Geek News, because only 2 of us can do it, and that kind of takes some pressure off. And we're still gonna at least once a month have a 4-way Geek First episode, if that's not a review. And if there's not the times where there's no Daredevil or the times where there's not a bunch of shows, you'll get Weekly Geek News and a GV episode. That might be additional, the GV episode might be additional bonus episode. That might be an episode where we're just chilling, talking a main topic. That's gonna be more about us hanging out, talking about our lives or what we've been watching, etc. Where other than this is just the opening to it coming back. Weekly Geek is all filler. No shit. No. All killer, no filler. It's all filler. It's all filler. Nothing good here. No, all killer, no filler. Where in the future, just gonna be, hey, here's a newscast. Here's a few things you can look out for, but it's just news. So that's what we're gonna be doing, because there's just been tons of news lately, and I think leading into the next couple of years, we're gonna have a lot of it. So all I'll ask is go down below for everything you need to know. I'll probably promote some other stuff, but lots of good things. The Daredevil season 3 retrospective will be coming out soon. There, Kirkland, Taylor, you finished there?
Kirkland's not here. Yeah.
He heard me. He said he woke up in a dead sweat.
Sunny cast. Yeah, I've got 10 minutes left of the final episode of season 3, and Kirkland promised that he would have it done by this Sunday. So
he also said he's going skiing Sunday, so that was scary. So
I know I'm not liking the odds, but I'll keep nagging at him. I think there's a high chance though that you guys on the Patreon will get Daredevil season 3 this end of weekend.
There you go. And then we just finished up Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood, so you go watch that, and then, or listen to that, whatever you want to do there. So that's a spoilers review. If you're an Oscar fan and you are a patron or want to be a patron, I'm hosting an After 9 where I do a predictions cast, and just like last year, I'm letting patrons come on the phase 2 tier and higher. The winner of that's going to pick a movie that we all have to watch, and we'll talk about that on another After 9, so that'll be fun. After 9's our call-in show if you don't know. And then, yeah, all the big reviews. We got Mickey 17 coming up, Sinners, like I said, all those shows. Golden Geeks, that's the other thing too. People, the Marvel Golden Geeks, you can vote now live on Patreon, and then soon this weekend you'll be able to vote for the regular Golden Geeks. You have till Tuesday 6 p.m. PST to vote on both of those. That's our Oscars for Marvel and Golden Geek stuff. So look out. So yeah, lots of stuff. The best thing to do is just subscribe, whether you like the video on YouTube or the audio. Best place is Patreon because that supports us. You get episodes ad free and all that jazz. But you should subscribe from now until it's going to be hot and heavy really starting now until August, because August we have our GV day, and that's going to be our 10-year. So we're already talking about things to do. That's going to be a big one. So now until August, it's going to be a juicy time here at Geek First. But here we go. Dalton says he got his tickets for Mickey 17. Very nice. I'm waiting to get mine, but I'm planning on it. But that's why I was asking Taylor, because I'm not seeing it the Thursday. So either Taylor, we'll talk off air, but I gotta do some stuff, but there will be a review, and I'll be on the review. We're just moving some stuff around. But and Buster Barnes, I see coming in. What was that? 5:50. Whoa, my goodness, 5:51, and this show goes live at 8. That comment was hours ago, which is going to be our main topic here. So, Taylor, my main topic here is, and I know some people are going to probably think it's hyperbolic, because the main topic I have, for at least for the first portion of the show, is DCU hype dropping, ? Right? And you might ask, well, only Creature Commando's out. All we've gotten is a Superman trailer. How could that happen? So I'm going to make like a little bit of a case here, because there's some news and I just have some questions for you. But I want to ask you in general. It's been, I think, 2 years. I'll find out the exact amount. But obviously we've not got Superman. But so far we've gotten that slate that he gave us a couple years ago. We got Creature Commandos, and then we got that Superman trailer. If you were to say from the time, let's say we got that slate to now, do you think your hype for the new universe is about the same, lower, or higher?
Lower.
Okay, why is it lower?
I genuinely just don't have that kind of like draw to what's going on. Like, Creature Commandos was enjoyable for sure, and I am looking forward to Superman, but I don't know, just this whole universe, I'm not mentally there yet. I
Again, we haven't got a single movie yet, so I'll just
yeah.
paraphrasing
I'm
that,
sure that after I see a movie in this universe, things will change. They'll absolutely change. Now, obviously, Creature Commandos is segueing into this new universe, but it's not providing me the hook that I need to get involved with everything that they're trying to build in this new world they're trying to establish. It was just a good, fun, random comedic time that was brutally violent. So I'm hopefully just wanting that hook, and I'm really wanting Superman to be that for me, just to kind of really pull me in with good storytelling and good character development. So I just have to wait and see.
So what I was gonna bring up here is, so I'm not. I wasn't here for when you and Dylan got that Clayface news, right? And here's the thing. So we got that slate a couple of years ago. Let me actually pull it up. I should have been doing that while you were talking. Bad podcaster. Actually, I was promoting the show. So let's see. That's the DCU slate. Let's go chapter 1. Okay. So I just want to go there. There should be an image. Perfect. Okay. Can I do a screen share? If not, this is going to be a waste of my time. Okay. Here we go. Boom. So we got this. I hate when people make like a fan-made one. I don't want that. Okay, so I think this is pretty much true. I don't think the Arkham Asylum thing was ever true. But anyway, so this was announced, right? Creature Commandos we got Waller, Peacemaker Season 2, Lantern, Supergirl, Superman, Authority, Booster Gold, Paradise Lost, Brave and the Bold, and then Swamp Thing, right? Not going to count that. So I am legitimately excited for Lanterns. I'm excited for the 2 castings that have happened. I've talked about that, but I'm excited for that. I am excited for Supergirl in the sense I like Millie Alcock, and I've heard great things about the story, so I like that. But then I kind of look at the rest of it, and where I was that I kind of thought, okay, I was for most of this stuff here. The Authority, who knows if that would be successful or anything like that. But I'd say I'm still relatively excited for this stuff. But where it's kind of gone recently is, so it's tough because I feel like he did want a slate, right? And Zaslav and HBO and all that stuff, they probably want some sort of slate where like, hey, give us this, tell us what you're doing, get that out there, right? But I think what's weird for me is you have this stuff that they've announced, and then there's stuff like Sergeant Rock, and then there's stuff like Clayface, where Sergeant Rock is supposedly going to be directed by Luca Guadagnino, and like, I think I said that name right. I always screw up the last name. Let's see, Luca Guadagnino. There we go. Okay. I think I'm saying it right. But either way, the guy directed Challengers and Queer and a bunch of stuff. I really like Challengers, really like Queer. I could make a case that's Daniel Craig's best performance. It was announced yesterday that he dropped out. There was not much known about it, if it is scheduling conflicts, if it's Queer wasn't the biggest box office and award season wise, so he's kind of like, I'm over this. And then my thing about Clayface, where they get Clayface, and let me see if I can get the full breakdown of what that was. So because I think with Clayface, I'd be way more for it if it was a let's see, be actor here. If it was an Elseworld, it was just, hey, we're just gonna make a random, Clayface movie about this guy, and that's it. But they've said it's in the DCU. I can get rid of this slate here. They said it's in the DCU. I enjoy Mike Flanagan a lot. He did Hill House and Doctor Sleep and all that stuff. My excitement dropped a little bit when he wrote the script. He's not directing it. He's doing other stuff. That's okay. But this was the definition. Here we go. Is Clayface is described as a Hollywood horror story that follows a B-movie actor who injects himself with the substance to keep himself relevant. Now, that's all fine and dandy. That's what happens to Clayface. But the other breakdown of this was saying that it's not really going to portray him as a villain, just kind of his own story. Now, I do trust James Gunn a lot more, and I trust you won't follow mistakes of the past, but for me, it's very much like, it's just a stickler thing. I think all those Sony movies probably still would have been bad, but I would have been more welcoming if we had, let's say Tom Holland fights Jared Leto for some reason, Morbius, then we get the Morbius movie, etc., right? I don't like we're gonna do a Clayface movie in the DCU before we meet the DCU Batman. I don't like that at all. Like, let's say, because I know you always have your scuttlebutt. Let's say Pattinson isn't the DCU Batman, right? And they're fully, we have our own Batman. I don't like the idea of having a villain movie that's in the and it's not even a villain, it's the Sony thing, right? It's like, well, it's a misunderstood character. And for me, it's also just the list of the directors. There's one the guy that did the Speak No Evil movie, which was fine. There's another guy that did Imaginary and other stuff, not as good. You'd be happy about this. The other rumor name was Jay Bayona, who directed Jurassic Fallen Kingdom. So
right.
So for me, it's just like, it's a combination of multiple things where it's just like, and Dalton says, what if Clay faces Elseworld? No, Gunn confirmed it's in this universe. So for me, it's like the slate, the trailer, it's all going good. Creature Commandos I thought was fine, but it's stuff like the slate hasn't even come out yet, and we got Clayface in the DCU with these very, to me, kind of fine directors, right? And maybe one of them knock it out and kill it. I'm always pulling for people, right? Like, as a person who wants to make films, everyone has to get their big break and hope that's it. But for me, it doesn't get me overly excited. And then even like Sergeant Rock, where it's just like, why? I guess maybe because it's lower budget, right? But I just don't know, like, why is that where we're going? Like, I'm trying to think, because I know we know James Gunn likes the weird stuff, but it's like, why isn't there a Wonder Woman? And you could say, why isn't there a Batman? Same thing if, like, I want Matt Reeves' Batman movie, but, like, that's not out till 2027. Are they really going to wait that long to do, like, Brave and the Bold, like, their Batman? It feels odd. So I know I threw a lot at you there, Taylor, but how do you feel? Because obviously Sergeant Rock, I feel like you don't even know much about. I don't even know that much about, because I'm not a big army guy, but he's a character in there. And how do you feel about the aspect of Clayface being set in the DCU, but I'd imagine, I don't think we're going to meet our Batman before then. Like, how do you feel about, not even just as a fan, even as just somebody watching, is like, okay, a successful universe. It feels that, to me, these pieces are kind of like, I don't know if a Sergeant Rock movie does good. Clayface is rumored to be like 40 million, so that's great. That's fine, but it still feels odd to be like, in your first chapter of the universe. Again, like I said, to me it feels odd, like, hey, before you meet Batman, you're gonna meet one of these villains that is like a actor, which they've even said he's not even gonna be a villain of Batman. So it's like, what are we doing here? So
at this point of the game, I just feel like it is, like you highlighted, James Gunn's MO. Let's focus on these obscure characters. And there was a point in time where we were in the DCEU, and I was heavily just shouting out DC, like, yeah, do this. Focus on these out of the norm characters. You've already done, like, your Batman, your Superman, and all this, and you focused on all these other different iterations of them. Do these zany, lesser-known characters. And while I pushed for that back then, after going through the mill and having movies like Birds of Prey and The Suicide Squad and all of these other films and projects that have focused on those indie characters, and then James Gunn really running with it with Creature Commandos and again doing the Suicide Squad and stuff and giving us these introductions, even Peacemaker. While there are highlights in lots of these projects, I think I'm definitely feeling a bit of the fatigue from them, and I would not say I'm overly excited to just get a starting film being the Sergeant Rock character. That being said, I could watch a trailer, think it's interesting, watch the movie, and be like, "Holy shit, this movie was great!" Because of course, James Gunn, he is a very good like project leader with these things, and he knows how to really get his writing to really deliver a little bit more on the development and the relationships with these characters, and also have a comedic note and the action, all that kind of stuff. We've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, and now we've seen Creature Commandos, so I think we can kind of see, I guess. Yeah, and the Suicide Squad. We've seen what his projects do and what they are like, and while there are similarities, they stand out on their own. So even while I do feel fatigue for these sideline characters that aren't necessarily mainline like Batman and Superman, I'm still intrigued enough to go and see it and hopefully get my expectations blown out of the water. I'm more excited for Clayface though. That definitely has my mind just like ecstatic.
Just out of Sergeant Rock, right?
Just out of what? Like in comparison?
Yeah, or you mean in general?
In general.
Really, you're more excited for Clayface and Superman? That's what I was curious.
I see.
Sergeant Rock, and no one gives a shit. Like what I will be curious to see about that, because Luca Guadagnino doesn't make like massive movies, so it's all about the budget. Because to me, like Clayface at $40 million, if they can keep it that way, you don't need much to be a hit then, like that, like as long as you don't just completely bomb. Like imagine this would never happen, right? But we had all these conversations about Captain America, and that just crossed 200 million now because it had like a supposedly 180 budget. It's higher, but imagine if that movie had 40 million in the first week and you're done. Your profit, you're good to go. I'm not saying that Clayface is going to make $200 million in its first week, but 40 million, like we've seen some like what did Long Legs do, right? Long Legs box office. Let's see. That made 126 million, and that's like just off word of mouth. Also, Nick Cage, you have Nick Cage, but we've seen Nick Cage in movies that bomb too, right? So it's not like he's like a guaranteed star. And I don't know if the DC thing helps or hurts. I think they did say one thing, which I do admit, because like it's weird. I do want different projects, not just like MCU, like rinse and repeat. So it's a fine line. And they did say the idea of Clayface and Sergeant Rock is to show people that, hey, DC can be a bunch of things. It's not just going to be this one thing, that, hey, you can attract other talent because, you could do this and do this. It just feels a little strange as far as just, and maybe I just have to not look at it as like maybe I just have to look at it as these are solo movies that are connected, but it's not so much like other connected universe we have. Like it is a connected universe, but not as the way of like MCU or what DCU tried to do, or DCEU tried to do, or even like at times Star Wars had tried to do, right, with their Darth Mauls or stuff like maybe I have to look at that way, where it just feels odd. And for me, it's just simple. The projects have taken hit. Where Clayface, I was intrigued when Flanagan was writing it, and then it's like these directors list, not really a fan of these directors. Same thing as Sergeant Rock. I was like, I don't know if I need this movie, but Luca and Daniel Craig together, I was really excited. And now that Daniel Craig's out, my excitement's gone. The name that's supposedly replacing him, Taylor, is Jeremy Allen White, the bear actor, the main guy on here there.
Interesting.
He's the one in talks. Yeah, very different actor and age. So they're all over the place. Yeah, there's not comparable at all. So like, and don't get me wrong, I like White. I think he's good. It's just like he's not one of my go-tos right now. So it's not like, oh, I can't wait to see him. And I also don't know if he's like a proven box office guy. So, and like, at least Craig, like Queer did happen. It wasn't the biggest hit, but like you have Bond, and I feel like here's the thing. Like whatever, like people can try and twist this all they want. People that love Daniel Craig as Bond, there's a huge percentage of people that aren't going to go see him in a movie named Queer. I'm not saying that's a right or wrong thing, but they love Daniel Craig because he's toting a gun, he's, making moves on girls. So to me, because that's also could be the scuttlebutt too, that some people theorize that, maybe because Queer didn't do the greatest, it's like, it's a mutual thing of like, yeah, he doesn't know if he wants to do it and we want a bigger star. But to me, like, the audience that would love Daniel Craig as Bond would be more apt to see him in a war movie where he's fighting and shooting and everything again, right? Where Jeremy Allen White is kind of an unproven commodity. he's gonna be in the Mandalorian movie next year, but that doesn't count because he's just a fucking voice of a Hutt character. It's not like if that movie's a hit, it's like, well, Jeremy Allen White. The thing that they might be banking on though is, I don't know if you know this, they're doing a Bruce Springsteen biopic and he's playing Springsteen. So I'm wondering if they're hoping of like that movie comes out, does well, and he's a star, and you kind of already got him before like Marvel gets him or Star Wars or something like that. So does that float your boat at all? Like, World War II movie with and send the, because obviously you got a taste of it right in Creature Commandos. You like Sergeant Rock was in that episode with you probably didn't see him, but like what's his name? GI Robot. That
Was that in the forest scene?
Yeah, so one of those characters is Sergeant Rock. So that's the thing of like, so Craig's out. Does that get you any more interest? Jeremy Allen White in that role? It's not confirmed, but he's supposedly one in the most talks right now.
I like that character or the actor Jeremy Allen.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only seen him in a couple little things. I haven't seen.
Were you a Shameless person?
I haven't gotten into Shameless.
Me either.
It might be one of my next deep dives actually is getting into it, but we'll see. Yeah,
you got a long watch list. You're talking about on the Discord today. You showed your bunch of movies. I don't know if you got time for Shameless when you got
those
like
are the movies. The shows are a whole other list that I can't do on Letterboxd.
Join the Discord.
But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see him in that kind of a role. What would really sell me and get me super, super more pumped is if they were to put GI Robot actually in there. I would really, really jive with that. Just because then I have my foot in the door and I can kind of go in feeling, okay, I have a little bit of familiarity here, something I can get on board with, and I don't know, it would just be kind of comforting and attractive, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you're getting that, but
no.
Because Luke is not that type of director. I don't think, at least he does very different type of more artsy movies, and I don't even know why he's doing this. And we'll have to see if he does end up doing this. The other thing we have to see, it's like we're not talking about stars at all tonight, but same thing with James Mangold. Like he has a Star Wars movie and the Swamp Thing movie. And it's kind of like, well,
has or had a Star Wars movie.
That's what we'll find. Well, same thing with Swamp Thing. Does he have or have? I really don't know. Like, it's interesting. So, and same thing, Swamp Thing, I'm very excited for. But if we lose James Mangold, I'm out. Like the same thing as the Star Wars Jedi thing. If they're like, oh, we're doing that with someone else, not James Mangold, I'm kind of out. So, it's interesting times with all these big companies. I feel like there's lots of things going on, which we're going to talk about. But anything in that plot for the Clayface, does that interest you? Described as Hollywood horror story that follows a B-movie actor who injects himself with a substance to keep himself relevant.
I freaking love that. That sounds awesome. I think the idea reminds me kind of like The Substance.
Pretty much. Even though, Clayface's origin is pretty similar to this in like the animated show. So it's kind of a chicken egg scenario. So
I just don't want the Clayface that we got in Creature Commandos.
Well, that was my itch. So I've never watched that episode yet, but I know you guys said, "Oh, you won't like that portion." You said he's like playing video games and everything like that, right?
Yeah, because when he's impersonating a character who's like teaching a class, and he's being very like shitty and like sexist and all this kind of shit.
But it's like
treating people
comedic, right?
I didn't take it as comedic. I took it as him just being a piece of shit. And then, it goes to him playing Xbox in this impersonator's home or whatever, and just like eating junk food. And I thought, this is kind of lame because he's just a goon in this sense. I would like it if we got him more.
He's getting his own movie.
Yeah, he's getting his own movie. So I would like to see him more so be his own person and not be just a shitty, pathetic kind of low life who just gives me like, oh, I'm. Yeah, he doesn't have any goals or not that he needs morals. He's a villain, but I would like to have a villain that has some kind of aspiration and something that makes him a little bit more than just, oh, he just sits down, plays Xbox, and when he's pretending to be this teacher, he's just talking sexist shit and doing like shitty flirting techniques with the women in the class and treating them like shit. I don't know, it's lame.
And how does like this guy, when they're describing it as like the guy who wrote Haunting on Hill House, like you're telling me that's the guy that goes and like he's gonna write a Clayface movie. I'm sure it's very horrific, right? Scary, and then like that's the same Clayface that becomes some gamer or something like that. I have not seen the episode, so I don't know, but it just feels a little odd that way. So, and again, I'm potentially down to see this go and see what happens. The director, I wish there was a bit more of an inspired choice, but again, I still, if you ask my preference, I'd rather them just say, hey, we're doing Brave and the Bold and Clayface gonna be a villain in it. And then if we like Clayface, hey, we'll do the movie after. I do not want to get in the routine of Sony where we're getting all these, because we already got Joker, and Joker 1 obviously massive hit, and then Joker 2 not so much. So obviously we'll have to see what happens with Clayface, lower budget, so that it could make a little bit profit and they look at it as a hit. But I want to see Batman fighting the ball Clayman. I don't want to for sure see the movie, but you know, time will tell. So we'll take our first ad break, and then we'll be right back with some more kind of controversial stories. So we'll be right back. And we are back. So let's talk about this. Bond, James Bond. Oh boy. So today it was announced. So again, it's funny. This must have been a newscast that because I listened to some of it. You and Dylan talked about the Clayface thing and then the Bond thing. So it's kind of funny that they're both coming back up. So weeks ago, or a couple months ago, whenever, there was this article that came out and it was all sourced and everything like that where, okay, Bond is owned by the Broccoli's. I can't remember his full name. I think it's like Albert Broccoli or something like that. But anyways, I'll call him Broccoli Sr. He got the rights, and I looked at this like over 60 years ago for the Bond movies. So obviously, they're a bunch of books, but he's been attached to it ever since. And then his daughter and son took, got the role, not the roles, got the ownership of it when he passed. So they own it, but they've always been in partnership with MGM, and that's what Amazon bought a couple years ago. So it was this sticky situation where Amazon owned MGM, but they didn't own Bond per se. Like it was kind of like a shared thing, right? And the Broccoli's still had kind of final say. Well, it came out today, and the big thing was too that apparently the splitting point, at least a couple weeks ago, and who knows, this is probably months ago. All this stuff works a lot slower than it actually reported. The Amazon crew wanted, of course, to do a Bond movie, but they wanted to MCU it. They wanted to do spin-offs. They wanted to do TV shows on top of the movies. They want a whole Bond cinematic universe. And obviously, this is a character that's never got any spin-offs whatsoever. There's been talks about him before, but it's never happened. It's just been James Bond. So then today came out the news that, well, I guess they bent over because Amazon has purchased or they've called it a joint venture. It's not purchase. It's a joint venture for the Broccoli's to give up full creative control. It was reported that the deal was for $1 billion plus. So that means both the siblings got $500 million plus each to give this over, which that's what we knew it was. To me, it wasn't like there is some stuff in the article of like, oh, they were tired of bickering with Amazon. They just didn't feel it was a good relationship, all this stuff, which I'm sure could be true, right? If these reports were all like valid or even somewhat valid, you might get eventually, if you're working with somebody and you just hate it, eventually you might quit or ask to be transferred, right? But I'm sure the 500 million really helped smooth that over. So now they will get like an executive producer credit. Their names will probably still be on it, but they have nothing to do with it. It's just on Amazon's court. I will say that I'm of a few minds of this. One, this is shitty news for me because I'm not saying the Broccoli's have done everything great. There's bad Bond movies, sure. But for me, and this just shows like, I mean, this is another conversation too we can have a little bit tonight, but in the future, it's just like the way it's kind of like gaming. The industry's going where it's just going to be 3 to 4 companies that own everything, and that's it. The days of all these different studios and creators and kind of some unique takes are going to go away, other than on the independent side, or if you're lucky to be like Nolan, where you can make Oppenheimer make $1 billion, and they'll just go, oh, we'll trust you with anything, right? For me, it's not so much the creative control thing. It is the Bond just becoming what everything else has become recently in our 10 years we've been doing this, right? And I'll use the best example for Bond. It could work out. Maybe they put out a show. It's great. I am the problem, right? They'll put out a show. I will watch it, but I'm a diehard fan, and also we do content. I will use this example for us, and then I'll throw it at Taylor, and then I got some other things to throw it to him. But for us, our two biggest years were Endgame happened, massive review for us, did very well, and that's when people approached us that, hey, you could get paid for this, you can make money for this, all etc. Right? And that happens to pay for our time here, that pays for editing stuff, StreamYard, everything, like everything that's run, how we make our movies, that started that. And then COVID happened, we had a big plunge, and then our biggest year was 2021 and 2022. And I think there's a few things. One, COVID was done, so it was just lots of stuff was coming out. There was tons of actual big movies like The Batman and Doctor Strange and stuff like that, things that had cameos or really anticipated. And then this was in the height of WandaVision's coming out and Loki and Falcon Winter Soldier and everything like that. And we had record numbers, right? Because for us, it was like, hey, we get an MCU movie every, 3 to 4 times a year. Where with the shows when they started, I'm not saying all of them did the exact same as a movie, but they all did very big, well numbers because it was an event and it was something big. But then now it's very hit or miss. You never know with it as far as what the numbers are going to be like. Sometimes, like last year, X-Men 97 did very well for us. I think in the top 10, I counted it last year, like 6 out of 10 episodes were X-Men 97 and they did well, more like the past, right? Where then there's other stuff that come out and it just does nothing. I haven't even looked at the Spider-Man numbers to see. I think they do well enough for us to also that we kept continuing them. But I mean, in the grand scheme of everything. So I'm using this as an example of like, you can see that initially you might go, okay, we're doing the Bond movie and that's going to kick off this spin-off and this spin-off. And there's going to be that push eventually, or there's going to be that push at the beginning, but eventually, unless it's like the highest of high quality and it's like the best show on TV over and over again for multiple shows, you will start to lose people and then it's going to start to get watered down. Like, to ask you this, do you think the Disney Plus shows have helped or hurt Star Wars overall?
I mean, they've probably helped because I think that there's a lot of grief that came out after Solo. So
Okay.
that was damaging.
Well,
But
Skywalker, I'd say as well, too. And Last Jedi, but
yeah, things were not hot on the big screen department. So when you
okay.
get to the Disney Plus, I think the show's definitely not catering to everyone. There was something though for everyone. There's lots of people that hate all the other stuff but love Andor. There's lots of people that like Skeleton Crew and maybe don't like the other things. They've definitely managed to make different varieties of Star Wars content for everyone to enjoy. So I say it's definitely a pick me up.
So with Star Wars though, why do we have stuff like Acolyte that gets canceled or like Skeleton Crew that doesn't even make it in the top 10 of streaming shows when it is out? That's my pitch of like, is it helping it from like a financial point of view? Because now we have these shows coming out that people don't care about, in a sense, right?
I think you have the GA that carries those shows for the most part, and then you have the a lot of actual Star Wars fans that just think, oh, Disney's ruining everything, yada yada yada, and they don't touch any of this because they're still upset
Really?
about either Last Jedi or they're still upset about Rise of Skywalker. And then you get all these different things in the shows that they do, and they just get upset about it. And so I think that the numbers there are very large, and I think that they probably have a hand in that because I mean the people that do turn up, the
Really?
GA and whatnot, like there's lots of Star Wars fans that are going to turn up, but there's also a lot of Star Wars fans that are hurt because of the like things that Disney has done in the Star Wars universe. So I think things are just kind of shifting right now, and this is just, hey, Disney Plus shows were not the permanent solution. We need to get back onto the big screen sooner rather than later.
See, I'm the reverse. I think the GA is the one that tunes out. And even the people that hate Star Wars right now will go and hate watch it. Like all those hate channels, everything, they still watch them and do their clips or reaction videos or reviews and stuff. So then I'll ask you the same question. Do you think that Disney Plus shows helped Marvel?
I would definitely say at the start, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned around. Now it's not helping Marvel. Now it's
No.
I think it's damaging it. Unless, of course, you got like a Spider-Man or Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show. That helps.
Yeah, but like even then, that's not like I don't know what the numbers on that. I think that's just like a fun thing to have with Disney Plus. I don't think. And do you think anyone in the world subscribed for your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
No.
No, like that's the thing, right? So for me, obviously, you're not the biggest like James Bond fan, but that's my point of view of like, okay, you have James Bond, which again, my last point before I throw it to you again is just I have no idea the family dynamics, everything like that. Maybe they're just like, yeah, I am fucking done working on the Bond movies. Maybe they're just sick of them, right? I find, like I said, I'm speaking completely out of turn here. Their father got this deal and has had these film rights for over 65 years that, moved over to them. There's so few situations like Sony having the Spider-Man film rights. There's so few situations now where you have something like that to let it go. Like, I know they're both old. I think they're both in their 60s, but still, like, they must have kids or other family. Maybe they don't, I know, but like, to kind of let that lead the family, like it's weird for me that I know they don't directly make $500 million, but like if a Bond movie can make $1 billion, I feel like in the future it can again. And again, it's not like the Broccoli's make the movie makes $1 billion and they make 500 and they make 500 and done. There's all these, you got to pay the studios, the actors, everything like that, right? But I just mean like that's a huge price tag, absolutely, to cash out. And if you want to cash out, go get your money. If that's how you feel, that's fine. It just feels odd to me. It's like that to me is such a big thing to let go. Like for me, I before would be like, hey, I'm gonna pay off a producer to kind of take my role. I don't want to do this, but I also don't want to give it the rights. Almost like, hey Taylor, I own James Bond, but you know what? I'm sick and tired of dealing with it. I don't want to let go of it, but I'm gonna give you a cut or pay you money so you can be me. But like in my spot and everything like that. The fact that they just let it go to me was very shocking. Obviously, $500 million can't sneeze at. That is because that's the argument, right? Two is they could look at me and say, well, I can set up my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids, everything like that, right? So it's like money is a whole different thing. So one, what do you think about the Amazon having the full rights? And two, how do you feel Bond do you think that has potential to be you could spin off this character, you could do this, or do you think that is how it's been for the past 60 coming on 70 years where it's one film every few years, it's an event? Because you do lose that event feel right away if there's a spin-off show, if Bond's appearing on Amazon on a Thursday at 6 p.m. like you could even make that case now of like with like Falcon. There's lots of other bad MCU stuff, but the second he appeared on MCU Disney Plus, it's like maybe people didn't look at him a draw. That's why I'm so curious to see Mandalorian next year. Of like, hey, what does the Disney Plus TV show do? Maybe people like, oh, I got to see this, or do people go, I already saw 3 seasons at home. I don't need to go pay $20 to do this. I'll just wait till it's on Disney Plus. So what did you take from it? Kind of, because I know you've seen some Bond movies, but it's not like one of your big franchises. So from the outside, what were you thinking about all this news, and could this work as the JCU?
Oh my goodness. I think Amazon having the rights to this it's okay with me. I think that they've got a lot of shows so far under their umbrella that they know what they're doing with shows. So there's that. And then the idea of, okay, maybe if we get shows instead of a movie or vice versa, I think that we could look at how they did the Batman and then how they did the Penguin. I think here is a great example of what seems to me at least a pretty good perfect balance, where you have a great movie and then you have a show that's a very limited season, limited run. And of course, I don't think they confirm a season 2 or anything yet. Did they?
For Penguin, they've talked about it, but nothing. Okay. It's definitely not officially confirmed. No.
Okay, then you can leave it ambiguously open, but just know you got a point A to point B. You're going to do everything in between for your show, and then you're going to continue to point C through another movie. Just again, have it be set up very anthology. It doesn't have to always be revolving around the main story, and there's enough characters with the James Bond world that you can do different stories, right? So I think that would be the safest way to go about it, to really implement it, instead of like, hey, okay, here's one movie and now we're gonna have 6 different spin-off TV shows. Watch it, because you're gonna get all these different things. Like, I don't know, which is what Star Wars did, where you have Solo, Star Wars story, and then you get like 3 seasons of Mando, Ahsoka, Acolyte, and all these other things. It's like, well, where's the next movie? And it's like, no, you're gonna get Andor season 2 now. And it's like just pumping out all these shows. And of course it works. They're all anthology stories spread over a 30 to 60 year timeline in the Star Wars universe, sometimes a bit more. But I just think that at its core, you need to have that happy balance, that happy medium, because not everyone's going to watch the show. Not everyone watched Falcon Winter Soldier. And that's why in the movie they had to backtrack a little bit and undermine some of characters' development that we already saw overcome in that TV show. So you need to have a balance, and you need to really play your cards right.
Do you let James Bond appear in any of these shows?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So how come the Batman wasn't in Penguin? Just because you use that example. So, because I just feel like you risk bringing that character down, right? If you see him on TV per se, like,
I think if it's done in a limited way, like Luke Skywalker in Mando season 2. Where it's just like everyone's like so hyped. Like you could have this other agent or someone doing this whole mission at the end of the season. Then all of a sudden you got James Bond just shows up. You're like, oh, that's cool.
Different though with that, we were never getting any more Luke though in movies, right? So you're kind of like, well, we can't use the movies. Let's put them
Well,
in TV
you
show.
never know. I mean, they've been.
At that point, though,
I didn't think we were gonna get him in Book of Boba Fett, and
oh no, no
they
one thought that.
refined the de aging CGI. So, you, I think you could see them do Luke in a future movie.
Okay, but at the time being, no, Luke.
At the time, no.
So that's what's interesting, and yeah, it's funny because like I want to happen naturally where in No Time to Die, the characters that Marshawn Lynch and Anna de Armas played, I was like, oh, I would take a spin off of that. But the reason I was also finding it because it was like, okay, they killed off James Bond. There's nothing to do here. Run with them for a bit, and they didn't, and that's fine. They didn't want to do that, but now it's just. I do think they need to be very particular, and I will give it. There's two things I'm going to wait to see. One, obviously, the product. I will give it a chance, and I'm sure me and Kirkland will be reviewing this. So I can't wait to get Kirkland's thoughts on this because he's another Bond guy. But the other thing is, I want to see who is the person in charge from a producing and directing standpoint. If I'm Amazon, I don't think this is going to happen because I think Amazon might be too bullish, and I think he might be like, I don't want to put my toes in that water, but maybe, just maybe, you go to one of your people, see if you can catch my drift here today. You go to one of your people producing a hit show for you on Amazon. You go, hey, we really like what you're doing. We'd also like it if we could, talk to your brother, maybe. You know what I'm talking about here?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I talking about? You said, mm-hmm. So
I do, but I didn't know you were setting up with a question.
I said, who am I talking? Oh, you're just saying you're in the conversation saying, mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought you said like you knew who I saw with the brothers.
Are you talking about my brother?
No. Who produces Fallout, Taylor? Who's the showrunner or the mind behind that? One of the minds, at least.
Of Fallout?
Yeah, the TV show on Amazon.
I don't know the name of the guy behind
Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother.
Oh.
To me, that is I've always said after Oppenheimer, the fact that the broccolis, everything, because Nolan always said, hey, I'll do a Bond movie, but I want to do, because you know how it goes here, where it's like the first thing, they'll make a new one, and that's kind of like the tone of what the Bronson ones are, the Craig, everything like that. So Nolan was always like, I want to do that. I want to set the stage and do it my way. Boom. I think there's maybe rumors he also wanted to go back in the 60s. I would fucking love that. I think right now, if you were to say, hey, we're going to do a Bond movie not set in present day, I think that might be better than a Bond set in present. I think people would want just like that nostalgia back and just kind of like something kind of that it's like the gadgets can kind of be high tech, but you don't have to worry about like, what do we do in 2025? That's not cool anymore. So I don't know if that's the thing. Maybe there's some middle ground. But to me, after Oppenheimer, it's like he fucking made a movie about the hydrogen bomb, a 3-hour pretty much documentary biopic, just blending the two. And that made nearly $1 billion. You go to him and just say, okay, you do Bond. Even if he wants to cast Aaron Taylor Johnson, I say, you go do Bond. That to me is what Amazon could do. I don't think Nolan would do it because I think it depends, because Nolan's going to need his, like, I need 3 months in the theater yet, where Amazon, like, look at Red Notice. I know it's a different situation, but Red Notice came out in November, and then a couple weeks later they threw it on Amazon because they wanted it out for Christmas, right? Like, there's no fucking way, like, Nolan's doing that. That's why he left Warner Brothers, because they tried to do that with Tenet, right? So it's like, I think that's the play. So if it's not Nolan, then you need a big time producer or director producing, like a Kevin Feige, or the way, like, remember when Mandalorian started and it was, hey, Jon Favreau's producing a Mandalorian show. Obviously he directed and wrote a lot, but you need something like that, whether it is a named producer or a named director coming on, like, hey, this is like James Gunn with DCU. This is the guy, gal, them that is steering the James Bond ship now. And if that's of a name, I'll give it a chance. I'm going to give it a chance because I would prefer it to be good, right? And I will check it out. We'll review it. But I think there's way more risk here than anything. And who knows? Maybe there's the Broccolis being like, they don't think Bond is popular, and like maybe it's not going to work. I've even theorized, in my opinion, that I could see people not even accepting Bond this go around, and it won't be till the next one because everyone loved Craig. And that happens sometimes with Bond, where you get Roger Moore, and then you get Timothy Dalton only for 2. He's quickly swapped out, and then Bronson's back in. You had Sean Connery for, like, I don't know, 6. You got George Lazenby for 1. They got him out of there, and then got Roger Moore for a bunch. Like, there's signs of the Bond franchise of someone playing Bond and the audience going, nope, this is not the guy for me. I like that last guy too much. And then they kind of get shit on, and then the next guy gets to come in and be like, oh, well, I'm the new Bond now. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I like this guy better. So this is the other point I'll say too is with the casting, because Maddie's another James Bond fan. We've always talked about this because I know you're apparently they did talk to Eric Johnson, the Broccoli's. I don't think that's happening now, and obviously the Craven thing I think did hurt him, but I think what's interesting is usually Bond's never been a name. It's always been someone that has some establishment, but they always want to make it somebody like, hey, this is our guy. Now with Amazon, I have no idea. I literally, obviously, then I think they're going to be British, but like, I know people have been memeing, like, oh, this is Henry Cavill's chance. I wouldn't put it past him because he's doing that Warhammer thing. Like before, always I'd say, no, Bond is not going to be a very popular name. I kind of hope they stick with that. I like having a newer, somewhat actor, but with it being Amazon, all bets are off the table. I think right now the casting. I think they'll do whatever. And I feel like we're gonna start hearing stuff soon. Oh my god, S Bubs, Amazon hires Dave Filoni. I'd fucking oh my god.
Yes, please.
If that happened, this would be me at the Amazon office.
Honey?
Agassi, who is the head.
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
So is Dave Filoni going down the stairs, or are you yelling at him, I'm gonna kill him?
That's the security. Well, yeah, Dave Filoni's down the stairs, and that's me to Jeff Bezos. All jokes. No one sue me or all whatnot. But rock one of those digital Amazon Christmas advertising verticals or whatever. Oh, absolutely. He wanted it up there because it's the biggest Amazon Christmas movie. We'll talk about The Rock later, but yeah, all bets are off, and I feel like we're gonna hear news soon. I feel like they had to stall with trying to figure out what the Broccoli's now making this deal, but I think soon you're gonna get producer, director, star. I could see us getting that all before the year ends here, which will be exciting, but it's gonna be scary at the same time. So, and my last point, do you worry about, like, obviously we have like a couple of years ago we had Disney and Fox merge, and Disney has Star Wars, and then Marvel, and then Pixar, and then Warner Brothers is doing their stuff over there. They're merging with people. Now you have Amazon owning Bond completely, like, creatively. Do you worry, like, how do you feel about, like, in 5 to 10 years where it is just like the big four and it's kind of like we talk about gaming, right? It's like all these little studios get bought by PlayStation or Xbox, like with Blizzard, right? And it's like, okay, there's not a bunch of different teams, but it's just like 3 big teams, and like, does that make you worried, or do you not give much thought of it? You're like, whatever. As long as it's just good content, I'm there to, because we could get less voices, what I'm saying, in the room for, like, it's harder to maybe break in when there's, just only a few pawns per se. Where before you go, oh, I'll go to this studio, but and even with Bond, it's like it had like an old school feel to it, but now it's kind of, maybe less so because it's Amazon. They want to hit this X, Y, and Z, or maybe it's even like creatively. It's like, well, we don't want to do that because we really want to appeal to everybody that's an Amazon Prime member. So don't do this storyline,
Mm-hmm. And so, sorry, you're saying what would be the case here, having different studios to rely on?
No, does that worry you at all? Like us, kind of like with video games, kind of going to like maybe just like the big studios, the big billion-dollar corporations controlling just like all the side, like Bond now. Before it was like, hey, a family owns this and they've had it for 65 years. Now it's like Amazon, that is like the biggest corporation in the world, now they got Bond. And now you're going to see Bond on Amazon Prime stickers. You can see it everywhere. Few thing Patrick Trout says the chances of them milking this franchise are astronomical. Oh, it's going to happen. Less streaming services would be nicest, Dalton. I can't get on that bandwagon yet. I know everyone's been saying that. I feel like the newest thing is to say, hey, I wish we had cable again. I don't, because I cycle my streaming services. Like right now, I had Paramount Plus for Dexter, got rid of it. I had Crave for what did we review on Crave? We reviewed not Creature Commandos. It was something else on Crave, but I had it for something, got rid of it. I'll get it when Last of Us was back. So for me, I'm fine because like I pay for the streaming services I want. But
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of similar with that when it comes to streaming services. I will not have all of them at once. I mean, I just canceled Paramount because of Dexter, and I just reactivated Apple because they got some shows on there and I want to watch The Gorge. So yeah, you just kind of like juggle back and forth. As for them milking James Bond, yeah, it's going to happen, I think. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as other companies would. I think if you have like a Netflix were to have it, I think Netflix would be going ham on milking it. But I mean, look at The Boys, for example. We got a few seasons of that show. It's really, really good. And then we have a spin-off anthology show as well that complements the main show.
Well, then we got the other spin-off coming, remember?
What was the other one about?
It's with Soldier Boy and
Soldier Boy,
what is who's the Nazi character?
Stormfront.
Stormfront, yeah. And it's kind of like what we talked about the Boys review, right? Where the Boys parody the MCU, but they're starting to turn the MCU where it's like, oh well, there's a spinoff. Now here's a prequel spinoff, you know? So it's that thing of like, yeah, the Boys started that way, but now they're becoming exactly, you know, live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And same thing, does Bond start good? And then it's just like we're down a trend where it's just like we have 6 Bond shows in the next few years, and it's like fuck, man. Like, and then the Bond movie comes out and no one cares because they've seen James Bond every Thursday night for the past couple of years, you know?
Yeah, makes sense.
We will see. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time here. What are we talking about next? Okay, so we got some just some movie news here to put together. I think one's more Taylor's story and one's more me's story. So 2 movies I guess have been announced, very different, but you got Goonies 2 officially being worked on right now. Not much news if it's like a legacy sequel or if it's a reboot or if it's kind of like a sequel in the world but the characters don't come back. I'll let Taylor talk about that. And then obviously this might not be the biggest Taylor story, even though, you know, Dalton, you're in the chat, you did make us retro Goodfellas this year, and Taylor loved Goodfellas. That's directed by Martin Scorsese. He is directing a movie that people are describing as a combination of Goodfellas and Departed. Did you see Departed, Taylor? I think you have,
I
right?
love Departed. I own it.
So they're saying it's a combination of that, but it's set in Hawaii. Stop me when something sounds wrong. So it's Martin Scorsese directing a crime movie, you know, mix of Goodfellas and Departed, with Leo, with Emily Blunt, and then starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as a Hawaiian mob boss. So, Tay, what are your thoughts on the Goonies 2? Is this something you're for or against? And then what are your thoughts on The Rock becoming you know, he's taking quite a different role here, because the Martin Scorsese movie, he can't be Red Notice Rock, you know? You can't do that in Goodfellas or Departed.
So Goonies 2, I remember had to have been maybe 2 months ago, maybe it was last year even. I remember hearing on the radio that there was a whole bunch of buzz about Goonies 2 happening. Something crazy, something was moving ahead with it. And then I don't know, I don't want to say it was Sean Astin or someone else, but there was a bunch of stuff that came out and they're like, no, if there is a Goonies 2, like I'm not aware of it at all, yada yada, a whole bunch of just discredit and putting it to bed. And I remember them saying on the radio, like, yeah, no, so Goonies 2 is definitely not happening, yada yada yada. And yet here we are, Goonies 2. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt what you hear, I guess, but I think that's funny. And am I excited for it? I like the first Goonies quite a bit. Do I need a second one? No, I really, really don't, but I'm going to be there for it, and I'm very curious to see what they do, and if they're going to have... I imagine Sean Astin will definitely appear in there, and who else could they get?
Ke Quan has to be.
Yeah, actually.
Gotta get
that's
that
a really
data, right?
Yeah,
Josh
get him in
Brolin.
there. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
There's still... I mean, I'm assuming none of them have passed away. They're just all older now.
I don't think so. I think there's some that don't act, maybe, but I think all of them
Yeah.
are still alive. And the ones that don't act, you could have in just like smaller roles, right?
Yeah. So I think having a comeback of the OGs would be absolutely massive. I think a lot of people would be there to see that. And you have their kids or something get up to a new adventure. Something along those lines would be a lot of fun.
That's what I was going to say. Do you have it that it's just their kids on a venture, or is it them and the kids on the adventure?
Well, I would love it, them and the kids. That would be super fun.
I feel like you kind of have to, right? Like, I feel like the natural, like, kick is, oh, we're going to just have them set up the kids and they go do their own, because you can do that, right? They're friends, like the same way, like you and me, and then, like, obviously Sarah's not on the podcast, but, like, we have kids. I'm not saying they're going to be best friends, but they'll see each other often, hopefully, through our lives, because like we do stuff together, right? Like camping and other stuff. So it's like our kids will know each other. So the same way you could do that with the Goonies, we're okay. Even if they're not all best friends, they know each other. Some groups of friends, but I think that, like I said, maybe not all the parents, but at least those. To me, the 3 is like Brolin, Austin, and Ke Quan. Like that's the 3 you need. I would love for it's Corey Feldman. I would love him. Obviously, he's had a rocky life in general, but I would love him to be in that and, you know, just have that presence again there. So Yeah, obviously there needs to be more sequels. I do think this is a thing that could maybe never happen, that they are working on, but just never gets the working flow. But they did recently, I'm not sure if you saw, if you write Love Hurts, Red Carpet Goonies, they had a bunch of them come out for Ki Kwan's movie there. So it was like Brol and Aston, because Sean Astin was actually in Love Hurts, actually. I think he's like his handler or something. So yeah, there's a bunch of them all together. So hey, maybe that's when it started. But yeah, I don't know. Can I say I'm for it? I think there's definitely some fun, but there's definitely room for Zoolander 2, Anchorman 2. Like, there's tons of room for error here. But at the same day, it's like, well, if they make it, it sucks. It doesn't, like, it's not going to take away from Goonies 1 for me. It's still, I think we'll be fine. So, what about this Rock news? Dalton says, if anyone can make it work, it's Marty. You know, can the Rock, Rock starting to dip? Obviously, he has an A24 movie coming out either this year or next year. I'm not sure if you remember, that's the one where he's playing like an MMA, or he's playing like a boxer or an MMA fighter, and he has like a bunch of prosthetics on and everything like that. Have you seen the picture of him in the prosthetics?
No.
Okay, I'll get it while you're talking. But yeah, what do you think about this this joint here?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I really love that movie Goodfellas, and I had not seen it for the first time till last year when we did the retro. And Departed, I always loved The Departed. I remember my friend recommended it to me, and yeah, I watched it and thought, holy crap, this movie is fantastic. And so I went out and I bought it on DVD, watched it a few more times. It's so good. I actually have been wanting to rewatch it recently, but yeah, I think to do something that's in between those two, I'm going to be there. I think this sounds like a hell of a nice time. And I'm very curious, though, yeah, what they're going to do with The Rock's character in here. And I really like The Rock's acting over the later years here. I feel like he's kind of drifted away from the usual suspects like your Rampage and your Jungle Cruise and all that stuff, and kind of like pushing out of that world and trying to be more something else. So I'm excited to see what they do, because I think Martin's going to push the limits a little bit more here and really get The Rock to step out of what he's used to. So
So I'll show you this. This is obviously, I know you weren't the biggest fan of this, but the director, one and a half the directors did Uncut Gems. He's doing this movie called The Smashing Machine. It's about this fighter, and that's the Rocker there. You might need to full screen it. Now, obviously, it looks like I'm a little
that's
bit.
The Rock.
That's The Rock,
shit.
yeah. So
The hair.
The hair thing. So yeah, he's definitely making a choice, and that's one thing with The Rock. He does have a lot of, I won't say concern, but he's very. I won't say cautious. He wants to make sure things look good in the public image for him, right? And I think there's multiple things he's done where he left wrestling to become an actor. That was successful. Then he made this Disney deal, right? And then eventually, once that happened, there's the Tooth Fairy, all this stuff kind of became a joke. Well, let's do Fast and Furious. Let's do Fast. Let's do a bunch of like, I'm a badass guy, right? And he came back to wrestling at the same time. So it was this one, two, like, okay, he got all this, and he was massive success, right? Where now I feel like and I think he knows this, or as people have clued him in, that most times when you do see Rock, you can agree or disagree, but I think most times when people see that, it feels like a meme movie. I feel like people know what they're going to get and the quality of that movie, and I think he's cognizant of that. So to do an A24 movie and then a Martin Scorsese movie, I won't say back-to-back, but within a couple years of each other, that is trying to change the narrative of that. And plus, there could even be a little bit of ego, because like, every wrestling fan in the world will tell you who's the best wrestler turned actor. Do you know what the answer is, Taylor?
Ooh, John Cena?
No, you're missing the big one. Dave Bautista.
That was my first pick, but I thought, no, it's too easy.
Look at stuff like he does in Blade Runner, even though small, right? Look at Dune, right? Like, Bautista has so much versatility, where John Cena, most of the time, pretty much the same guy. Ricky fucking Stenicki. The Rock, pretty much most of the time, is the same guy. So that's where I think he wants to show, okay, and maybe he'll fall on his face. I don't think so, because I think if Rock and Leo are attaching themselves, the good thing in Hollywood is for them, they can hear about, hey, because last year when The Rock signed on Smash, like, he signed on to an A24 movie. That was a big deal. So I guarantee you they have people in the industry that are saying, "Oh no, this is a good movie or a good performance." If there was rumblings that like, yeah, he's not an A24 guy, like he can't like get these deep performances, I think word would get out in the inner circles of Hollywood, and Marty and Leo would be like, "No, we're not gonna have him in one of our movies." Because even like to me, seeing Leo and The Rock together on screen, that does not feel right at all. That just feels like too like double negative. That feels I don't know, like how some people describe Hawaiian pizza, like pineapple and ham. I love it, but some people think that's disgusting. That for me is a weird, like when we get that first image of The Rock, who's looking fucking like a building, and then Leo, it's just like, it's such an interesting dynamic. But if they can pull it off, and Marty kind of needs a hit too, because like Irishman was on Netflix, Kills the Flower Moon didn't do that great, and I like to enjoy both those movies to varying degrees. So I'm very fascinated, and I'm excited for The Rock, because one thing I will say, and to S Bubs' question he asked us, let's as it says, Leo and Marty gonna be sitting front row at WrestleMania. Oh, I love it. I'd love it if he would be in there. But let me pull up S Bubs' question, because I do have a good example here. S Bubs asked, and you can do this, you can join Patreon any tier and ask a question for our newscast. He said, what other prestige directors would you like The Rock to work with? Could he be Tom Cruise's replacement as the true lead of Tarantino's final movie? Now here's the thing, you said that's what I jumped to, so I do have another one, because for me, I think we talked about, I can't remember if it was Call of Duty or a newscast. It was one of them. You, me, and Kirkland, I think, talked about recently. For me, The Rock's best role is Pain and Gain. He is fucking phenomenal in that movie. You've seen that movie, right, Taylor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
When he is like a recovering drug addict and then he gets back on the cocaine, my God. I don't think he would have won, but to me, I think he should have been nominated for Oscar. He was fucking fantastic. When did Pain and Gain come out? And Gain, because I want to
2010, 2011.
Oh no, did we miss this already? Oh, okay, no, we did 2012. Okay, so for because I was wondering for GV Day last year, remember we did the 2012 Golden Geeks? So I was like, oh, did we miss it? To me, that's a best supporting actor nom easily, and that's where it's like,
whoa, what year was that?
2013. So we did 2012 last year. So we're in the clear. It's still gonna happen, hopefully at some point. But for me, that's why I actually think you think about what he did in Pain and Gain. Him in a Tarantino movie would work as like a very crazy. I don't think he could be the lead of a Tarantino movie. I suppose I don't know if he could carry that type of dialogue. Marty, I could see because it's a little bit different, but just because Tarantino's is so dialogue heavy. But then the other one I'd like to see is Spielberg. I'd like not so much this one that I'm sure Taylor's excited for, that Disclosure movie that's all about aliens, but the next time Spielberg makes like a adventurous type of movie, a Ready Player One, I guess a BFG, but something like War of the Worlds, something like that, where it's Tom Cruise-esque, or fucking Minority Report, man. Like, get something where, okay, The Rock can still be action, have some charisma, but he's gonna have to go into that drama side. You've seen Minority Report, right?
That was the Tom Cruise one, right?
Yeah, where they're police that can see people murders before they happen, and then they arrest them.
Yeah.
But then they see Tom Cruise as a cop's murdered somebody. Like, that's what I'd say is a Steven Spielberg actioner. When he's doing that classic 80s Spielberg, I'm not saying you could do a new Jurassic Park and get him in there, because I feel like Rock in a Jurassic Park movie, that has meme material. But something where it's like a big Spielberg adventure with The Rock. So people, and you can, like, Rock can be a great action lead. So get him back to that. Don't get him back to like the very bad CGI, lots of jokes, lots of buddy weird stuff with Kevin Hart. Like, get him to like, no, this guy's a bona fide stud. This guy could eat you for breakfast and shit you out just like that. Like, he's a mountain of a man. So like, that would be my picks. But Taylor, is there any like big time director you think that The Rock could like legitimately work with?
Oh my goodness. Big time. I'd like to see a Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Did you watch Jury Number 2? Juror Number 2?
That's the Nicholas Hoult one, right?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Okay.
You
saw Gran Turismo, right?
Oh, I love Gran Turismo.
So you think Clint Eastwood could make a movie like that, and The Rock could be like the Clint Eastwood? I'm not saying like that movie, but think about a movie where he makes that. It's a very dramatic movie about racism, old grumpy guy. Clint Eastwood, like The Rock, could do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
really?
Clint Eastwood will show up at The Rock's house and like pull his hand out of his coat real fast. The Rock will have to keep a straight face.
What's he gonna be doing? My God.
Just like in Gran Turismo.
We're gonna set
Or
it
not
in
Gran
Simone
Turismo.
culture, and it's gonna be all about that.
Yeah.
All right, Clint Eastwood. That would be fucking. That would be something. That'd be That's as crazy as the Leo thing to me. Trying to picture that in my mind. That's something. Superbad Mike says, "Don't forget that Scorsese did get Jonah Hill an Oscar nom. He did, and I do think Jonah Hill's a good actor. But the thing is, that was in Wolf of Wall Street, right? That was right to Jonah Hill's, like, that was made for him, where he had to be a little dramatic, but then he got to be very over the top. So that's my pitch of the Spielberg thing, where he can still be The Rock, but then get some like real true emotion out of him. But yeah, I'm very excited. I hope this does happen, just to see the spectacle of it all, just to see The Rock and Martin Scorsese. Like, even then, Martin Scorsese is a very small man, so to see like The Rock and him side by side is like, it's gonna be fantastic. I just feel like there's good memes about it. So yeah, we will see. So let's talk about, we got some more news here. Let's go to the Marvel side here. Actually, let's take an ad break and then we'll be right back. All right, and we are back. So, so let's talk some Marvel news. I'm gonna kick one rumor to another time here, the Rogue rumor, because I have more juice for you here. Well, no, I promise the fans. So, first of all, Rogue rumor. There was a rumor Margot Qualley could be someone they're looking at, and then there was just a rumor that Jenna Ortega was being looked at for someone in X-Men. They didn't say who. Could be a villain, could be Kitty Pryde, could be even Rogue as well. Do you lean any way, which way? If, Feige sits you down and says, hey, let's say Ortega is the one that's talking about Rogue, would you say Rogue or Qualley? Obviously, you just saw a Substance recently. I think that's the only thing you've seen of Mark Qualley, right? I think.
Oh, what else has she been in?
You didn't see what's playing on in Hollywood. Did you Master ever watch that Maid show on Netflix?
No, we haven't seen that. Never saw Kinds of Kindness.
You never saw Sanctuary either, have
She
you?
was in Poor Things?
Yeah, she's in multi roles. Yeah.
Oh.
Or no, Poor Things. Sorry, no. In Poor Things, remember Emma Stone leaves and they try and get the new girl to be like the Bella. Like, yeah. So it's a small role, but she's in there. Yeah. Didn't see Sanctuary, did you?
I was just looking at Sanctuary, actually. I was like, why does this look
Fantastic.
familiar? Maybe I did watch it.
That's the movie where the guy like pays like a dominatrix to like work him over the whole movie. It's the guy who was in Wolfman.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah. No, I haven't seen it yet, but interesting.
Maston should watch that next Valentine's Day.
She was in Death Note, so I had seen that.
Fuck her. She's come a long way. Good for her. She was in Death Note now. So really just a Substance. So, and obviously you see more of Ortega, but do you have a preference there of who you like?
I'd prefer Qualley over Ortega.
Wow, I'm surprised. I would as well too. What was your reasoning?
The Rogue that I envisioned in my head after all of the X-Men 97 retrospectives and stuff that we've explored, I feel like Qualley can fit that character better. When I look at Ortega, I just see...
She'd have the attitude down, at least. That part,
she would
right?
have the attitude, but I just get this very adolescent kind of portrayal. And it's no flack against her as an actress. I just think that just who she is, I think that she excels at playing those adolescent characters, like with Scream or with like Wednesday, for example, or again, like the Death of a Unicorn or whatever that movie is. Like, I just feel like if she has this certain kind of character, she kind of fits in this category, and she's got to get out of that and break free and just kind of like go off. And she's a great actress, she really is. But I think at this point,
Rogue
Qualley
could be that though, because Rogue's a bit more fun loving. So to your point though, if like you want to get out of the like moody teen, Rogue can be moody, but she's also like flirty and very like
that's
fun.
true. It could be the breakout role that Ortega needs for sure. But after seeing the Substance,
breakout role,
Qualley definitely, to me, I feel like you could take elements of her portrayal in Substance and like, this is a Rogue right here, just how she's acting.
Yeah,
it's a part of it, not all of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you with part of it for sure. Superman Mike says, as long as she doesn't do the Driveway Dolls accent for Rogue, I didn't hate it as much as everybody. I know everyone cracks on it. I think it's fine. She does a Southern type of accent. I think it was also being overly comedic. It was like it was one of the Coen brothers, right? So it's like, to me, I felt like it was being played up. I liked that movie. Kyle in our Discord, I think he's watched along, so he said there, unless he just happened to put this randomly in his thoughts, but he put as Jubilee. I don't think that would work because Jubilee is of Asian defense. There you go. He's in our chat. I think Jubilee could work for her. I think Julie's of Asian descent and she's Spanish. I don't think they're gonna change it up. I think they're gonna keep pretty specific to that because there's not like, for Taylor's community, not a lot of Asian X-Men out there. So I feel like if you want to be like, oh, that one Asian X-Men, we're gonna make her Spanish. Like, God damn it, or like Rogue could be, but I agree with you. Qualley, I like them both. I've said this, I can't remember if it was on air. I think it was maybe when we did originals, which will be coming out this weekend for the patrons. I want Ortega, to get out of the adolescent teen thing. She did that like a little bit. I don't know if you remember, she did this movie last year. You didn't see it, but she did like a semi-sex thriller with Martin Freeman where she was like saying he harassed her, but he didn't yet. But it still was like a teenager type of role, right?
Is that school one where she's a student? I also saw reels of that. I haven't seen it though.
It's not great. You don't need to worry about it, but that was like a little bit. But I do want her to do something else, and I think Rogue could be that. Kitty Pryde, that I could see a little bit there because I don't think that's as moody, but that's definitely what I want in the future. But like at the same time, though, maybe she shouldn't because like, as much as like I bag on, like Jack Black pretty much does the same thing and people love him, right? So maybe people want to see Jenna Ortega always as like the moody kind of darker character. That's just what they pay to see Jenna as. So
yeah.
But to tie into the X-Men stuff, so that's going to happen in two things. So Marvel today confirmed, which is very odd. These three shows were never announced, but they weren't officially on a slate, I'll say. But they confirmed that they're halting or suspending production on them. So it's Nova, Strange Academy, and Terror Inc. I don't know what the fuck Terror Inc. is. I don't know. Like, I've never heard that in my life. Taylor's doing some search right now. But with Nova, they've talked about the past few years, like, oh, it has potential. That's on hold. And they've all said, like, these projects could come back. Terror Inc., I got no idea. Do you got something over there?
I think so.
What's Terror Inc.?
It was a comic book horror series from Marvel Comics starring the anti-hero Terror, an eternal entity that absorbs the talents of others through dismembering their limbs.
Okay, so here's what I was gonna say, and then you had what was the other Strange Academy, right? Because again, you and Dylan talked about that a couple of weeks ago, how there was rumors and it was gonna be Wong leading and everything like that. It sounds like these shows are halted, maybe dead. Funny enough that we never talked about a newscast, but producer Nate Moore or but I can't remember when it came out, but we did talk on a newscast. Pretty much said like Armor Wars is on the shelf as well too. They didn't say canceled, but like a producer literally said like we don't know when that's happening. Maybe it's like that may never happen, right? And when I was talking to the GUA people, I think the next day we got some sort of Nova story, and I was like, I would not be surprised if Nova's the next one because Nova is a space show. To me, it's like you can't do that on Disney Plus because like the budget, again, kind of like we talked about, or Acolyte, they don't want to inflate these budgets anymore. And I think now we had that year with the Marvels and even with Cap, right? It's doing well enough. We have to see. Me and Dylan will talk about the next week how Weekend 2 does for box office, but it's not doing gangbusters. It's like they didn't have a bad year. It's official. The MCU or Marvel brand doesn't guarantee a hit. So that's why I think these shows like Strange Academy, Nova, Terror Inc., like, I don't think these are going to do numbers. People love Wong, but like, I don't know if they're tuning in to see him, right? Maybe there's a bunch of characters. So I just don't think these, like, you're going to see that a lot where a lot of these projects that they think, oh, is this worth the time and money? They're not going to take the gamble anymore. And they shouldn't because they have so many issues. But I guess there's a 2 for 2 where this was not on this report. This is another scooper, but they said one of the reasons why Strange Academy was one they were fine with parting with is because they're potentially looking at doing a different Academy show where they've had some rumblings, I guess, that they're working on an X-Men type of Academy show where it would be younger mutants, whatever, being trained by teachers, and that would be on Disney Plus. So that's why they're kind of like, if we're going to have one show that focuses on like kids in a school learning, the X-Men show is probably going to be a bit better, I would say, right? So, Terry, your thoughts on, honestly, the shows were never officially announced, but they were in like production or no, sorry, they're in development and right now they're halted. And how would you feel about a show of, maybe lower tier mutants, but it's them learning, becoming X-Men, and maybe they'll throw in one X-Men that's like a main character. I do think you have to have like whoever's playing Xavier has to be in that show. To me, you have to have Xavier like not as the main character, but around. But yeah, what are your thoughts on, obviously they're making some big moves right now in result of a lot of changes happening in the MCU.
Yeah, it's crazy to postpone or change shows that, I don't know, you haven't really publicly put out there, I guess. Or let people be aware of, because the Terror Inc. That's something I'd never heard of before, but seems like
Terrible idea. Who not terrible idea, but I mean do you think it would be a hit for them?
no.
That's what
No,
I
no, no.
mean. Like when I talk about this stuff, it's completely just business point of view. It's not like, yeah, sure, that sounds cool, but like I don't think it's gonna get that rate. Or maybe they were gonna do it as like a Marvel special, but these were listed as shows. So to me, it's just like, who's turning into Terror Inc. to see this guy who like removes limbs or whatever? Like we would, sure, but it's just like, is that worth the money? I don't know. And same thing, it's like I think you maybe have to do like people that are like like characters like Loki is from the movies. Wanda is from the movies and stuff like that, well-known characters. But yeah, what do you how would you feel about an X-Men Academy show?
I'd be game for it. It would be, I guess it would be live action. So
Yeah, it has to be.
yeah, it'd be hopefully similar to X-Men 97, have some familiar kind of story beats and character development, but other than that, I'd still be pretty excited for it, even if it is, younger mutants or whatnot. And yeah, you got Xavier in there being the principal and the teacher and all that. I would get behind it for sure. I think there'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for me, it's funny. The last time I was on Marvel Alliance, there's a listener question. They asked, like, if you were Kevin Feige, what was the thing you'd greenlight right away? And I pitched this series where I'm like, I want a show with young mutants at the school learning. You get the teen drama. You don't have to have a world-ending event, right? And the way I pitch it too is like, remember in Jedi, because it's Fallen Order and what is it? Fallen Survivor.
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, what are the stupid titles? But either way, those moments in the first game when you get to play as Cal as an apprentice, you know this. I've always pitched this to you that like I would love Disney to do the same thing of not like oh, there's apprentice side, like literally like the story of, and X-Men's kind of the same way of, right? I've always pitched the apprentice show as you find out you have the Force. That's really cool. You're becoming a Jedi, and guess what happens? A Jedi shows up, says, hey, you get to be a Jedi, but you can never see your family ever again. What the fuck does that do to someone? And the same way when Jedi are supposed to like lose their emotions, show how you're supposed to be more cut off and focus on the Force. It's the same thing as the X-Men. Imagine if you're at school one day, Taylor, you're just a regular kid, and then you burst into fire and you burn some teacher or something like that, and then it's like, yeah, you're even then, not even you take your kids away, like maybe your parents send you away of like, you're a freak. Like we get to see snippets of that in the movie in X-Men 97, but it's always like, well, Magneto's throwing a meteor at the Earth, or oh, Bastion's here, right? Like that's what I'd love. It was just an X Academy show where the finale is not, oh my god, like maybe it's just like, oh, we're gonna send you on a mission, you're gonna fight Juggernaut, like something like that, where it's not like a world ending. It's just like Juggernaut's broken out of jail, we have to stop him. Go. That is your finale. Even like Spider-Man. Your friendly neighborhood, like the penultimate episode, not so much stuff with Norman, but the stuff with Scorpion, something like that. And that's what I'd love is, get into the time where let's be mutants, and what does that mean? Where in the movies, that's where you can go fight Mr. Sinister, or you can fight Mojo or whatever, right? So I really hope this happens. I would love it. And I think too, it's smart for them to pivot, because that was the other word too, with Strange Academy. They're maybe a little worried because the Harry Potter show's happening, and that's like a magical show, and Strange Academy I think is going to pale in comparison. So to me, I just think there is so much potential in an X-Men Academy show, and I think that's one where the MCU could have minor cameos and it doesn't hurt them, because like the X-Men is a team, right? You probably wouldn't have Wolverine there, but Xavier to me is a must. That's why I would love it if Magneto is still a teacher at the school, because you could have him there as well. Beast, you do got to watch the budget. That's why I just say you focus on 3 to 4 kids. It might be tough though, because for me, I really loved Skeleton Crew, so I'd like it to be that vibe, but I don't think that did the greatest number wise. But at the same time, that's Skeleton Crew, right? If you just call the show X-Men Academy or X-Men, you can't do first class, right? But first semester, whatever, X-Men, I don't know, newbies, whatever you're going to do it, just call it X-Men Academy. I think there's tons of potential there. So I really hope this happens. Obviously, I think this would happen after the X-Men movie, but to me, it makes sense if you're already developing that to kind of dump Strange Academy. And yeah, like the Terror or whatever. And no, I just think it's an expensive show. And I just also think that I've said this before. I'm very curious. We talked about DC earlier, how like with Clayface and Sergeant Rock, I'm curious to see how these lesser known heroes do, because we've talked about superhero fatigue and all this stuff. And for me, I still don't know, because people say, hey, when will comic book movies go away? I don't know if they'll ever go away, because I don't know if you can put out a Spider-Man movie and a Batman movie and they'll bomb. But I have said we sadly might get back to the era where it is just like the main people, right? Where you can't put out a Shang-Chi movie, or he can't put out a Guardians movie anymore because the audience now is like, hey, I've seen enough comic book movies. I only want to show up for Bruce Wayne. I only want to show up for Tony Stark, you know? And same thing. So like taking the race out of it, some people might go, I only want to show up for Steve Rogers, you know, like that's my Captain America. So that's the thing where like Nova, like you got Fantastic Four back, you got the X-Men. There's rumors you might be rebooting and like recasting Iron Man and Cap. Like, is Nova really a price? Like fucking Blade with Mahershala Ali sitting right there, and you're telling me you're focused on a Nova? Like, take everyone off Nova and get them working on Blade. Like, to me,
But
it's
he's
like
busy. Jurassic World.
that's shot. That movie's coming out. He's done there, you know? So it's like, to me, it's like things like Nova, War Machine, again, just from a business standpoint, get rid of this stuff. This isn't working. It's going to be a waste of time, you know? So,
But there'd be, there'd be credit and reason behind it if those projects were actually woven into the story leading up to some climactic ending, right? Like they were doing with everything. Well, yeah, and back
Kang
in the
was
day,
leading somewhere, and Kang's gone now.
We talked about this before when I can't remember which newscast it was, but everything was written so well and intertwined leading up to Endgame. You get post-credit scenes that led towards what was happening, and things just made sense. But now we just have, here's a Moon Knight show. Here's a Agatha Harkness show. Here's this show, that show. And this is all more of the same with the terrible Terror or whatever.
Terror Inc.
Strange Academy, I could see being woven in for a reason with Multiverse of Madness, but then even the other one, I just think that it's not. It just feels like, hey, we just got so many characters in the sandbox. Let's just give them a project. Let's just do this. And it's like, you can't do that. You need to weave these together to fit properly with what you're doing, because we did get Blade in the not the Black Knight, talking to the Black Knight, but in Eternals.
Yeah.
So follow through with that and keep that story alive and going. Don't drop it and just give us another one, because we have so many loose end projects right now all these projects we have we had any sequels? I mean, I guess like Captain America is a sequel to Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it's not, I don't really see it like that.
No, and it's funny you brought that, because we talked about this a little bit, so I'll say this because I know not a lot of people or everyone saw Cap, but on the Cap review I talked about, because I was talking with a listener the night before Cap came out, and Chris Evans got cast in Captain First Avenger came out 2011, and then from that to Age of Ultron, he was in 6 projects. Where in a 4-year span, Anthony Mackie's only been in 2. Obviously, there's still one more year to go, but still, like, only been in 2, and he's fucking Captain America, right? The same thing where in all the phases, phase 1 to 3, you had 12 characters lead a project. So I'm not saying like Iron Man 1, 2, 3. I'm just saying Tony Stark led a project, Cap led a project, Guardians led a project, right? In this, we're still in the middle of phase 5, and there's been 13. So already we've hit that number before the whole saga is done. And the problem is, at least with the 12 in the Infinity Saga, those are all new characters, right? Like Iron Man when he comes in, new time. You sold so many characters. Like I said, I think we're going to do this as a GV episode or a special on Patreon talking about like who the Avengers should be, because it's just like you have all these characters. Like, you really didn't have, as much as I love Moon Knight and like people love Shang-Chi, you really didn't need to introduce them right now. You could have waited on those. Like, you still had Thor, you still had Doctor Strange, you still had Captain Marvel. Take out what they didn't know Captain Marvel was going to bomb, right? But just look at it. You still had Sam, you still did Loki, WandaVision, all of a sudden there were TV shows. And I also wonder, like, what is the multiverse of the MCU if there's no Disney Plus? Like, is all those, like, we talked about before where Falcon and Winter Soldier, that probably should have just been a movie, right? That should have been Cap 4 right there. And now I wonder, like, same thing with Loki with WandaVision. Obviously, you have to rework those, but I wonder if that's why we got those movies, because they go, hey, we need movies because we need to make $1 billion, right? But we also need to make Disney Plus really strong. So let's put our main eventers, Loki, WandaVision, Bucky, Sam, on Disney Plus, and let's give the new people the movies. Eternal, Shang-Chi, and Black Widow. To me, I guess we'll never know what Black Widow would have done, but she was a dead character. So for me, I wonder what it would have been like with Disney Plus. But yeah, that's where the Nova thing, it's like same thing. Wait until you've fixed everything. And if you want Nova to be like a mainstay on the new Avengers, sure. But right now, it's like we got more than enough character. Like, we got too many, way too many. We don't need all these other ones, you know? So yeah. Well, let's take another ad break, and then we're going to talk about some some interesting new movies coming up. So we'll be right back. And we are back. So I got two rumors here for you. Very different, maybe controversial, but in both different ways. So you got Dune 4. Dune 3 isn't even out yet. Not even filming yet, but there's talks about Dune 4 because obviously Denis Villeneuve has said, hey, after I do this third Dune movie, I'm done. Gonna move on. He wants to adapt Messiah. Then he's gonna move on. But Warner Brothers, obviously they got Dune Prophecy, which I gotta finish. They did renew it for a second season. And they plan on making Dune 4. So they're all in on the Dune movies, right? And it's just a rumor that Gareth Edwards is the person in line for Dune 4. And then the other movie rumor I have is there's been talks that Johnny Depp is going to come back for Pirates of the Caribbean. This is funny because last year Jerry Bruckheimer did say in a public interview, he said they are writing two versions of a new Pirates movie, one without Johnny and one with Johnny. And now it feels like maybe they're leaning towards the other one. So, Taylor, how do you feel about a Dune 4 with Gareth Edwards? And then after that, how do you feel about returning Johnny Depp to a new Pirates film?
Gareth Edwards, so potentially getting Dune 4. I was talking about this in the Discord. I feel like if he does get it, it would probably ride on the success of Rebirth. I feel like it's...
Colin Trevorrow situation?
Yeah, like if you're checking out this guy's resume and you want to put him on your project, you want to know how his latest film is going to do. And if this latest film doesn't do good, well, there's that. But I think if this movie does make $1 billion, then yeah, they're going to sign him up pretty freaking quick onto Dune 4. And I think that's great. He's got there's scale that I feel like Gareth Edwards totally lands the sense of scale in his movies. Especially with Godzilla, holy smokes. So I think if you can transfer that to Dune, which Dune is all about scale with the sandworms and everything like that. I don't know what the story is supposed to be like when we get to Dune 4 because I have not read those books, so it's hard
Apparently
for me to
gets
say.
fucking wild, like very weird.
Okay, and then Gareth Edwards, he can do weird. He absolutely can do weird. So
Can he?
I think he can. After Rebirth with the weird dinosaurs, that'll be pretty weird.
I don't think that. I think it's more trippy weird, not just like clones. I think it's very
Trippy weird,
like you're taking mushrooms, like a psychedelic trippy weird.
Okay,
That type of weird, yeah.
Interesting. Oh yeah, I still think he'd be great at it and can tackle it, but I'll have to wait and see what he actually does. Or if he even gets hired on. So I guess I'll have to wait and see. I'll have to watch Jurassic World Rebirth first.
Yep.
As for Johnny Depp, I remember us talking, and it just seemed like, okay, Johnny Depp he's out. He's out, Norman. There's no way this guy is coming back. And it was like another Pirates sequel of some kind without him, and then Margot Robbie getting her own prequel Pirates New Era kind of film.
I don't know if it was a prequel, but yeah, they pitched to make one, but then she did say that her and Disney could not agree. Like she said it in a nice, I think, diplomatic manner, but it kind of just sounded like they could not agree on the vision of it. So
she refused to replace Johnny Depp.
I don't think that's it. Maybe it's the reverse, where they said you got to make it with Johnny, right? And like, I hope they got a good plan because turning Margot Robbie down after $1 billion Barbie, it's like, well, I don't know if that's like. I don't think that's a smart business move, but I guess Johnny Depp might be the ace in the hole. Do you think that?
Johnny Depp is Jack Sparrow. Like it's amazing. It's like peanut butter and jam. It just goes together. I think that if you do pull this off and you do get Johnny Depp back as Jack Sparrow in another movie, I hope it kind of continues off. It doesn't have to be a direct sequel to that last one, but just give us another adventure that's like post that last one. But you gotta make the CGI better. Like that Curse of the Black Pearl CGI. What was the second one called? Dead Man's Chest.
Yeah.
And At World's End, like that trilogy, that CGI. It was incredible, absolutely incredible for the time.
Oh, yeah.
And now
Davy
when you
Jones
get
is an all-timer. Like that's up there with Gollum to me. You know?
Absolutely. And so when you get to Dead Men Tell No Tales, it's like, well, the CGI in here is so vibrant and saturated and just it doesn't look real. The best part is just the practicality of seeing the real ships just sailing around. But I think that, I think that if they're going to do it, and get Johnny Depp back, then they need to touch base on that old school humor, because in Dead Men Tell No Tales, that humor worked for me, but there was just a lot of the Johnny Depp stuff that wasn't jiving with me also, and it's unfortunate because he just feels like a very different Captain Jack Sparrow than the Captain Jack Sparrow we got in that first trilogy. And I think you need to kind of touch base on some of that humor. Don't make it that forced stuff anymore, but just like scary but serious, where like here an example in that first one, Curse of Black Pearl. Norrington is like, oh, Jack Sparrow, and he's like, should be a captain in there somewhere, and then he just immediately throws his shackles around Elizabeth Swann's like neck, and is just like asking for his effects and stuff like that, and then he just gets out of there in a very comedic escape and whatnot. Like, there's just really, really good writing involved with that, and so I hope that this next one would have that, and they really make the character serious and then comedic. We don't need him to be having his whole backstory or anything like that anymore, like we got with Dead Men Tell No Tales. As much as I like that scene in the score, it was cool, but we don't need to get into that with Jack. We know Jack very well. We've had him for many years now, so just give us an adventure of him just finding some new treasure, and something happens to cross in his path that complicates things. Not Barbossa's daughter, that was a weird complication, but something else that's just opportune, as they say. His child, yeah.
Would you have him lead it then? Or is it better to do a Force Awakens, him in the Han Solo role?
In the Han Solo role, Dead Man's Chest is my favorite, and I really like it because it's like, oh, everyone is here looking for Jack Sparrow. They're trying to find him, right?
Is that movie? Is that World's End when he's dead and they're looking for him?
The dead, well, they're always looking for him, right? And this one is like, okay, we need to find him because he's got the compass. They all need the compass, and right. Even Davy Jones is looking for him. But yeah, even in the first one, they're trying to track him down and work with him. So I like that he knows something. In each of these movies, he knows something. He knows, oh, you need the key to kill or get the heart, whatever. And the first one is like, well, I know that you're Bill Turner's son, and I know about the curse and all this kind of stuff, the coins. So he's always got a trick up his sleeve, and I feel like that trick was gone when we got to the last one. The last one was him just running because he was afraid, and he kept getting thrown into these random situations, and he didn't have control. Not that he has much control in all of these movies, but he has a slight degree of control over his own path and his adventure. And I miss that. It's a different type of Jack Sparrow, and I hope that they recapture that.
I'm glad you remember that last one so well. I've still never gone back to it. So take everything, well, not everything, okay? I guess like talk about it, right? Obviously, lots of stuff went down with Johnny. We covered all that when he was in the Harry Potter franchise and they ousted him there, right? And they said, oh, that Johnny's out of Pirates, and even Johnny's like, I'm never doing another Pirates game, all this stuff, right? We live at a very different time now. I think it has a lot to do with, I'm not trying to get too political, sorry, American listeners, but once that guy got back in office, I feel like all bets were off. Like, for me, it's just personally, look at all this bad shit that happened in the 4 years he wasn't in office, this guy was doing, and then he was elected. To me, it feels like definitely in Hollywood, like how Disney, I'm not sure if you saw this, they're like taking off those like warnings before their movies on Disney Plus. Yeah. So whether people want to say it's a regression, whether people want to say it's just being less cautious or just trying to be less political, there's definitely a shift with people, and you could make an argument, I definitely can see that, where there's maybe an overcorrection of people wanting to do better and have representation and do diverse things, but maybe going too far or using the wrong sort of situations or the wrong it's a hard thing to say delicately on like just like a fun geek newscast, right? This would be like a longer conversation, but I think there was a fact of, okay, is there too much going on, right? Is there too much for stuff people being canceled? Is it things that like, what's an offense that you could go to prison versus what is, being canceled, saying something bad, a bad tweet, something like that, right? Like James Gunn, right? Where I don't know if that would happen nowadays. So for me, I think the world is, take out what I feel about Depp, right? Because for me, that just feels like that was a whole messy situation, bad relationship. I don't know which way to go from it. I understand why studios parted ways with him, right? Because they just don't want to deal with it at that time. Times pass, people like most time forget, right? There's tons of people, tons of celebrities that we watch and companies we support that have done terrible things, employed terrible people. I'm not saying Depp, just saying in general, right? From what he came back from. So I think there might be enough time now. I don't know if I necessarily need it. I do want a Pirates movie. I think Pirates, that first, actually all of them. First one I think is the best, but I love the whole trilogy. I know some people don't. I love the whole trilogy, but to me, like the Pirates trilogy, that first, a little bit of the second, but really that first Mummy with Brendan Fraser, the first three Indiana Jones, there is like a perfect sense of adventure, drama, comedy, romance. Like it's one of those, like, this movie has everything and does it well, which is very tough to do. And that's why I think the Pirate sequels were hard. I think that's why the Mummy sequels weren't as good. Obviously, we saw Indiana Jones 4 and 5. I like 5, but I don't think it captures the same as the original trilogy, and it's not trying to. So Pirates, it's very tough, and they did not do that with 5 or 4 and 5. And for me, it's also just like, do people care in general? Because this is what I brought up, where the chart where you have, these are the Pirates movies, right? And this is all with Depp, where Black Pearl comes out, that's the first one, right? And then Dead Man's Chest, huge, but then World's End, that gets a bit lower. Stranger Tides, that gets lower. And then Dead Man's Tales, that goes lower. It's on a decline. That original trilogy, obviously very profitable, right? Like the movies, like what are they here? Let's see. Let's do that. So we have $2 billion movies, and then you have is this at World's End, I'm guessing? Yeah, it is at World's End. Oh, I hate.
And then On Stranger Tides made $1 billion.
It did. Yeah, that was the fourth one after. That was number 4, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that was also one of the most expensive movies of all time.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, production budget. Look at that, almost $400 million, right? So it's a lot of money. But for me, that's the thing where even then, like, I don't know, looking at this, their lowest one, not counting Black Pearl because that's the first one, their lowest one being this, and it's almost at 800. That's still a massive hit. So you know what, like it's still going down, but my point is, like, do people care? But then it's the reverse of, you might hit the perfect nostalgia point that people, oh, I'd love to see Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. Take out everything with the humor and everything like that. For me, Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow was a peanut butter and jam until the expiration date ran out. And for me, on Dead Man's Chest, or not on Stranger Tides, and then Dead Man Tell No Tales, they should have never had 2 movies where they were dead in them, okay? But either way, I saw the decline of Jack Sparrow and Johnny Depp playing him, where there's a magic in the first trilogy with Jack Sparrow and Johnny Depp. Those last 2, they don't have it. And I think he has it now after so much time has passed and everything that's happened. Does he have it? I think he's acting less. I would say he probably doesn't, but maybe he played in a different way. I do like your pitch where not even Han Solo, like, make him how Luke Skywalker, he has to be in the first one, but in Force Awakens, that's also like a fine Luke Skywalker movie, right? Also, he doesn't appear to the end. I would say a mixture of that, where I think you get new characters. I'm not joking when I do think you could have, like, the son of Jack Sparrow looking for his dad. I think you easily could do that. I'm not saying that's what I want, but, like, what Graham McGuffin? And I think too, if Depp, you can get him on board and everything like that, and you come to terms, and if everyone else is, what I would do to be safe is I would do the Force Awakens route, and I try and get everybody back. I think Keira Knightley says she never wants to do another pirate movie again, so maybe you just kill her off or something like that. But and S-Bubs is right. Didn't those pirate movies also get a lot of box office from China? And that is true. And that's not the same anymore. China does not support North American films as much as they used to, because they got their own thing. Like that Niza 2, biggest animated movie all time, almost $2 billion, and they've pretty much just done that in China. Like, it's like they're supporting their movies more than our movies now, right? So S-Bubs right. And that's the thing, like, everything's changed. The dynamic of theaters, theatrical runs, everything, right? Production budgets, all this stuff. But that's what I do to be safe, is not only get Depp back, get as many people back, get Bloom back for, like, a larger role, not that he was in Dead Man Tales. Get the fact that in 4 and 5 they got rid of the crew, like everybody else, like, that was a mistake. Like, I would go full.
Could have kept Skarsgård in there, as the dad. Oh, you mean the you meant that crew? I thought you meant the Dutchman
Barbosa. No, the Black Pearl crew. Yeah, I meant them. Like, they had such good chemistry and everything like that. Like, to me, that's what I would do. And then, yeah, my excitement, I will see it. We would definitely retro it. I would throw out, whatever, because like I said, I don't know how to feel about Johnny Depp, because, like, I'm not in the room, and he had one trial where he is guilty and one where he is innocent. So that's a very tough situation to call down the line, right? Just have to separate the art from the artist. I think I was more excited of let's do Pirates of the Caribbean new and get us on a new, whether it was Margot's one or something else. I was much more in that idea of give me a new Pirates, but completely new characters, so we don't have to have some of this baggage. Not Johnny Depp, just that character, right? But maybe there is a way, and we'll find out. And but that's what I was gonna ask you, because we talked about a little bit. Do you think, put everything aside, do you think it is a success if this movie comes out? Okay.
Because when did Dead Man Telling Tales come out?
It's 2017. So we're almost 10 years.
Almost
here.
10 years.
Which is crazy.
Fuck, that is crazy. Jesus Christ. I think it has absolutely got a shot to be successful. I really, really do. I think it's been a while, and I think if that people are going to see that trailer, and I think if they do it well, Johnny Depp, and they do get like Bloom back and Knightley, then I think, okay, yeah, this is tapping all the right notes here. Let's get into it.
Yeah, like obviously we'd have to see what the budget is, because if it's massive again, it's like, okay, that's hard to be a success. But I think if it's kept relatively, medium to big, it can be a success. I think it would be a bigger success if you get everyone back, but I really think what it depends on is that first trailer. You may have talked about where I don't think it'd be that hype, but you got to make it Force Awakens-esque, where you got to really capitalize. And I'm not saying Pirates of the Caribbean is Star Wars, don't get me wrong, but you really got to make it like have an aura to me of like that theme comes in a little slow, a big epic version of it. It ends with you kind of see Jack Sparrow, but you don't. You can say that for other teasers and stuff down the line. Like, I think like almost the playbook they did with Deadpool and Wolverine, how they brought Jackman back, right? Like kind of that playbook. So I think I lean towards yes, but at the same time, nowadays, if you were to tell me, oh, that movie comes out and it just bombs and no one cares, I wouldn't be surprised, because I thought maybe people are just done with pirates the same way people were done with Indiana Jones, right? The world didn't want another Indiana Jones, because it still was reviewed like fine. It wasn't like one of the worst movies ever. It was still like people were middling on it, but still that box office showed, oh, people don't want that. And Disney thought that was going to be a big hit. And that could be the same thing. Oh, we got Johnny Depp back as Jack Sparrow. You guys remember him? And maybe this generation's like, I didn't grow up with those movies. Like, fuck it. Like, Jack Sparrow I think is way more relevant to our generation than Indy, because that's a whole generation above us. But still, by the time they start making this movie and everything, like me and my mom were just talking about this. Like, in a couple of years, Gwen's 10. She didn't fucking grow up with Jack Sparrow. So that's the thing where it's like we did, and a couple generations or ages under us did. Like, I'm sure S-Bubs, if you're still in the chat, like, did your family make you go see the Pirates movie, or you did see that? But that's, I mean, like, we're starting to get generations now where they can be like, yeah, I don't care about the pirate movie. Like, who's Johnny Depp? Like, people don't, like, my sister didn't know who AC/DC was. Like, we're getting that point now where, yeah, so. And finally, I didn't even talk about the Dune thing. I'm mixed on that. I think I see what they're going for. I think they want to keep the visual aesthetic, and Gareth Edwards can do that. He can create spectacle. He can create great big sets and moments. For me, it's just, and as much as I like, I've always liked his stuff like in the 7 range. Rogue One, I overall liked, but think it's very overrated. Godzilla, I liked, but had some problems. Crater, I liked more than other people, but still don't live up to the potential. Jurassic Rebirth, we're gonna have to see. But to me, like before Villeneuve even did, Dune, he did Prisoners, he did Blade Runner 2049, he did Sicario. These movies that are like. He did fucking Arrival. Like, he did multiple. I'm like, I could argue this is the best movie of the year or that decade. Edwards hasn't done that, and it's hard, right? And I agree with Mike. We talked about this in Discord where I actually think Matt Reeves would be perfect, but Matt Reeves takes long enough to get the Batman. It's kind of scary that we're gonna get the Dune trilogy before Dune, Batman 2, which is scary. But I think that's a hard thing. Like, Denis Villeneuve is like a Nolan type where those directors don't grow on trees, right? But I think what you do is, if they're talking about this right now, one, like you said, you definitely wait for Jurassic World. Like, you just wait and see how that goes. And then 2, you also wait for Dune 3, because what if that's like mixed, or what if after that they're like, hey, we're good with this. We don't need it anymore after Denis Villeneuve, because I think Dune 4 like focuses, like, I think there's a time jump and it's like a lot of new characters. I think it's more like Force Awakens-esque, right? Where it's like in the world, characters but it's years later and it's way more trippy, and maybe people don't want that. So it's like, to me, it's like and again, these are just rumors. Clearly they're talking to people. I get it, but I would just wait till Dune 3 and then go from there. And I think, and even my point is wait till Dune 3, because then maybe there's other directors that might emerge that you're like, oh, this person. I think Edwards is a great, we want to keep the franchise going pick, but I don't think we'd get anywhere near the Dune quality, which check out our Golden Geeks, which is already the most controversial episode. Not going to say it. Patrons, you got it nice and early and ad free. So here you go. S-Bubs. I think I've only ever seen the first Pirates movie like one time. I did have a lot of Pirates Lego though. So this man, a couple of years ago, past couple of years, graduated high school. So this thing where it's like, he's already like, I think I've seen one. So it's like, then the generation by the time this movie, like Pirates, what? Let's say it starts filming next year. That's going to be like out 2027, 2028. Like, I don't know.
Go rewatch them. Or, well, rewatch the one you did watch and then watch the other ones. That's Bubs, because it's a good time.
Yeah, I wonder how they'd hold up. I do think it sucks they wouldn't be in the theater, because like I think those are great big theater movies, but...
Well, guess what's playing at Bernie's? Dead Man's Chest.
Really? And did they do the other Pirates or just Dead Man's Chest?
I didn't see the other ones. I was curious. I was looking. I was like, well, I wanted to take Madison to a movie next weekend. I was just scoping it out what Bernie's had, and so yeah, that's playing.
Yeah, that'd be a fucking good one. Oh man, S-Bubs, if you're gonna watch it, skip ahead or just mute for 2 minutes, or if you don't care. But man, I've always said one of the greatest reveals ever is fucking the end of Dead Man's Chest, man. Like you hear those boots coming down and just like, tell me now, what has Jack done on my done with my ship? Yeah. Oh my god, I think that's why the movie honestly made a lot of $1 billion, because like I remember as a kid leaving that movie, or like a younger, I think it was middle school, going to high school. It's just like the theater's like, holy shit, like, and I don't even know, because I wasn't on the internet, if that was spoiled beforehand, if everyone knew Jeffrey Rush was in these movies, because they were filming back to back. So I'm sure it was, but as someone that didn't know, I'm like, fuck, man, that's one of the best movie reveals ever in a cliffhanger. It is just top notch, the score, everything. I'm gonna watch that scene after this, but let's take our last break and then we'll get into our last topic. So we'll be right back. And we are back. So we got some more Harry Potter casting rumors. So one of these is from an A tier, and it's pretty much lock. And then the other two are rumors. So the rumors right now is Phoebe Waller-Bridge is being courted to play Aunt Petunia. And then the other one, which is a big time potential casting, is Cillian Murphy as Professor Quirrell. And then the other one that is more, it looks like it's just like happening, is John Lithgow as Dumbledore. So obviously the rest of the cast so far has been British, but Lithgow would be kind of a step aside. So I said that would happen, but I guess maybe they're making an exception. I don't know what happened with Mark Strong. Apparently, sadly, much love to his family. Mark Rylance, the guy they were talking to before, his wife just recently passed away. So I don't think you can see why he passed on it. He's much more things going on. But like, to not disrespect him, Lithgow for me is like he's like the most perfect choice I've heard so far, because if you look at something like Trinity, if people haven't watched Dexter, that's a character that he can be deadly serious and scary, but then super goofy the next second and be like, who is this weird guy? Like, how is this guy the Trinity killer? Like, he's an oddball, right? And that's where Dumbledore to me is like, he's perfect. He can be comedic, he can be charming, but he also has to be a little weird, and then he can be like scary or untrustworthy, right? Like, look at him, fucking Order of the Phoenix, such an asshole. He's always not talking to Harry and stuff like that, or Goblet of Fire, those ones, whichever one, I get them mixed up. But that's the thing. Like, Lithgow to me is like pitch. Like, that's the most perfect casting I've heard out of this list so far. Petunia, I'm very surprised they would get like Phoebe Waller-Bridge is not like a. I think when we did our fan casting, we didn't get like any big tier actresses. We all got like this is a woman that like she leads, like she led her own show, she writes shows, she's producing the Tomb Raider show. Like, she's like a bigger, like, not people don't know her like the GA, but like she has other things going on. She's not like just like a working actress. Like, she's, like I said, she's show running the Tomb Raider thing right now, pretty much. So it's like that. I was very surprised to get someone of that caliber. And the Cillian Murphy one, I don't believe that. Not just from the source, because the source person has put out good scoops. I just like, I don't know. That feels like a waste. Cillian Murphy as Professor Quirrell, like, to me, it's like, that's Snape, or like what people fan cast before, like, that's fucking Voldemort right there. Like, Cillian Murphy, like, that's Voldemort. Now, here's here's the pitch that maybe someone says, hey, we talked to him about that, and Cillian Murphy doesn't want to sign on for 8 to 9 years, right? I get that. That's fine. But even then, like, Voldemort's not in them as much, but I get it. Let's say he doesn't want to do that, but his Professor Quirrell, just like that, like, I'm not saying he can't do it. I feel like he could do it, but that just feels like a waste. That is like a big fish, small pond scenario to me. That would be a massive get for them. So I kind of hope the rumors are wrong, and maybe it's like always voicing, you know, the thing on his head. So like that's why it's Quirrell, or maybe people are getting things mixed up. I don't know, but I just feel like this man's coming off of Oppenheimer. He just won Best Actor at the Academy Awards. And you're telling me he's going to play Professor Quirrell, like the bumbling idiot, I just don't see that at all. Like, I'd same thing. I'm like, unless they're paying him, you know, broccoli bond money, you know, if that's the thing of like they just want a massive star and like, hey, we're gonna give Cillian a bunch of money, then sure, get your bag, because you know Doom's off the fucking market, and I don't see him in the DCU. I don't know. There's just I don't know why I see him in the MCU but not the DCU. I don't know why, but yeah. What are some of your thoughts on these rumored castings right now?
Yeah, Lithgow, I think that's fantastic. I think that's great. Let's do it. I think he could pull off a really, really good Dumbledore. Walter Bridge,
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Her name's not just Walter.
Walter Bridge.
Hi, I'm Walter.
Her popping up. When I look at her and then look at Aunt Petunia from the movies, like, holy shit, she is like. She fits, but that's purely based on the comparison to that original actress.
She does. The age is very different. This is very much like the hot Aunt May situation, though, where it's like a much younger Aunt Petunia, though.
Yeah, and I think that's just with the times, too. I mean, back then,
Can't
like,
be old.
Older people had younger kids, and now it's like younger people are having young kids. So it's just, I think it kind of fits a bit more. Plus, it's the nephew, right? Dudley could be a little bit younger and still being an ass and bullying Harry. Like, it's just Harry's a nephew, so it's not genetically their kids or anything like that. So you have a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to that. I'm very, very happy with that casting. If that goes through, though, I think that would be stellar. And then Cillian Murphy, I immediately just thought this is a great pick for Quirrell, because Quirrell is just bumbling and kind of like blah, 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 or whatever. I don't know. He's just a klutz, and I like that for Cillian Murphy to portray until it's go time. Until it's go time, because at the very end of Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, when he's like, "Come here, boy," it's like, oh man, Cillian Murphy could just land this role, and then he like glides through the air and is like choking him, and then I think he could pull it off, especially if we get that expanded upon throughout a season with Cillian Murphy just being bumbling Professor Quirrell, but then like very serious and like and you'd get him little bits as Voldemort, like in the forest, Cillian Murphy hooded as Voldemort, like drinking unicorn blood. Like, holy shit, I think you get some really cool things. So yeah, it is a shame to lose him out right away, because there are other characters that he'd be great at, but that's just the thing, just finding someone that would really work for those other characters. This character, I'm sure they could find someone else out there to play a good Voldemort or whatnot, but just to have Cillian Murphy in there as Quirrell.
Could they? But would you want to, like, if they sat you down and said, hey, Cillian could play Quirrell or Voldemort, you're taking Voldemort though, right?
I'd probably keep him as Quirrell.
What? Because there's not a guarantee. Like, what? There's no way. Like, there's not a guarantee you got a better actor out there that's going to accept Voldemort. Like, because then you get him for all these movies where, like, Quirrell's just a one-off. Like, that's madness. So you would still take.
Well, you get. You wouldn't necessarily. I guess you get like his face CGI'd on the back of whoever Quirrell's actor is in the first movie. Then in the second one, you get just a young actor, not even Cillian Murphy, playing Tom Riddle.
Yeah.
And then you're not there in the third one, so he wouldn't be signed on until at least the fourth movie. And then he doesn't even appear. He appears. He's in the fourth movie. He's in the next. No.
He's barely in both 4 and 5, though.
Yeah, and then he's not even in the last one where Dumbledore dies, or not the last one, but he's not even in that one. It's just all the Death Eaters and whatnot doing shit.
Yeah, and in 4 and 5, he's just in the third act ending. So And that's why I think it could be easy work for him, you know. And like, I just think those performances. Plus, I don't know the books 1 to 3 well enough. Like, maybe they'd want to have more, like maybe Lily Potter and James Potter, piece of shit, dying. Maybe that's like a longer sequence in the show than it is in the movie, right? Because you're trying to fill time. So maybe like the opening scene of the show is like a 5 to 10 minute, like the night Voldemort kills his parents. And it's not just like a flash of the actors going like, like they showed 10 million times in the Harry Potter movies. Like maybe it's that where it's like, oh, we're going to expand on a little bit more there. So, but yeah, no, it'd be interesting. It's going to be curious to see this casting. And like, I think the rumor is they have the kids. Obviously, they're all like unknown people, right? So they're not like someone we know, but it's going to be, the whole thing is going to be curious once they announce that official casting, once they get rolling. Just little things like, do they use the John Williams theme again, which I think they're gonna, because they're using the Superman theme again. So I feel like I just feel like that theme is so iconic and so linked to Harry Potter. I know people are like, but it's a show, it's different. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like I just think you're gonna use it like that. I don't see how they throw that away. You can get someone else do the rest of the score and different stuff, but to throw the John Williams, it's funny that's actually John Williams again. Hey, it's like Superman, and then Harry Potter's John Williams. So it's just like John Williams will live on forever. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I still think this show is gonna be a massive hit. I know lots of people think like it won't because it's too close to the movies and the JK stuff. I don't think the JK stuff matters because we saw the game sold, and I don't know if it is too close. What, that first one came out in 2001, right? Philosopher's Stone?
Yes. Yep.
So we're 20 plus years. And by the time this comes out, it's going to be what? 27, 28, or 2028. So it's like we're going to be 26, 27 years away from it. It's like people have, like, many people, including myself, have like lived and have children, have whole new lives now. You know, it's like there's a whole generation of kids that are gonna like I've been because we're about to watch Deathly Hallows Part 2 tomorrow because we've been slowly getting through them. But I've been trying to explain the difference of, I keep telling Gwen there's a show and like she'll often forget, she'll be like talking about them coming back. And well, no, it's not that. And luckily I just say, hey, it's like Little Mermaid where you have a live action show and a cartoon show where they're going to be very similar stories, but it's different. But there's going to be a bunch of people that, like, if the show works, Gwen's seen the movies, but it's not the same for her because it's like we watch them all together in various weeks. And it's just like, you're done, right? It's like we've talked about when our kids grow up and want to watch the MCU. They could knock out the Infinity Saga in a fucking weekend if they want, you know? Take off Friday, Monday, they've seen everything. What do? We just wait 10 years for that shit. Where this show, if it works and it's a hit, they will grow up with these characters and actors for the next, like we did with the Harry Potter people, right? For the next decade. So that's why I still think it's going to be, and like this, like, I feel like so far some of these names we've heard are like very talented and like a good ensemble name. So where, as we end this cast, where are you? Like, do you think this is going to be a hit for HBO as we start to hear more of these names, or you think it's still like a wait and see trailers and stuff like that? Where are you if they ask you, hey, is this our next Game of Thrones or something like that, next big numbers, or Last of Us something?
I think it's gonna be a hit. You're gonna get that trailer, that John Williams score is gonna click in there, and people are just gonna be like, oh man, this is taking me in. And it's more Harry Potter content it's back at Hogwarts. That's what people really, really want. When you have those movies that dive into the Fantastic Beasts storyline, there's things that I'm sure people like about it. But for me, the highlight of that whole trilogy was when we get that Hedwig's theme and you see the auras, like, what's it called? Disapparating, I think, and appearing at Hogwarts, and then you just get the theme kicking in, and you see the school, the students. It's like, this is just yeah, the Harry Potter just right there. I love this vibe, and I think that's going to be the big kick for a lot of people. Now, I know Madison does not like the idea of this show.
A lot of people don't, yeah.
But
she's going to watch it though, right?
I will make her. Me and her will.
Yeah, but do you think you'll make her? But do you think even without you, she would? Like, I feel like it's the same way as people like me, where I'm like, oh, these fucking Bond spinoffs. But like, I'll at least
she'd watch a little bit. She'd watch a little bit without me, but me being there, she'll watch all of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. And even stuff like to me, like, how does the school look? Because you can't make it look exactly like the movie, right? But
then, what was that teaser? It looked pretty similar.
I mean, like the inside of the school, though. Like, is it just look the exact same? Is it literally the exact same?
Well, on the outside,
No, on the inside.
I would say it'll be the exact same. I mean, the outside looks literally exactly the same as the movies. Literally,
Yeah.
oh my, I'm gonna pull up just so you can see it.
Yeah,
Holy
sure.
shit. It's literally identical. Like it looks like, hey, we're going right back to the movie's location. That's exactly it right there. Oh my god. The
Yeah.
hall,
And that's
the
the thing, because
towers.
they hit it so perfectly the first go round. So if it is just going to be like a stage player where you're watching the same thing and seeing the same actors. But obviously there's new stuff. So yeah, we'll see. Lots of rumors, but that's it. That's a juicy one. We did a full 2 hour just us, but there's lots of news to break down between this and the last one. So yes, we will be back next week. Lots of newscasts, lots of casts, sorry. But in general, subscribe. Thank you very much for listening. When you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.